When you become a professional esports player, I don't think the following words are things that you would expect to leave your lips. I want to go to Utah. But for several teams, that's their ultimate goal. The next major in the Rainbow Six circuit is in Salt Lake City, Utah. And you best bet that every team in every region is desperate to make it to kind of the West Coast of America. We are in the midst of the kickoff, a brand new period of the Rainbow Six esports calendar where teams go head to head over a couple play days. Then they compete in the playoffs, ultimately to earn their spot to go to our very first major of the year. Last year around this time, we were doing Reload. This year, there is an actual major. We've got the Fett face back for those of you that have a visual component, and for those that are unable to understand social cues, Fett does it deliberately as a joke. So if you're one of those people in the comments typing things like, why does he do that face? Or you say like, what a stupid face, blah, blah, blah. Congratulations. You fell for it. He got you. Fett got you. We're here for engagement. This is our first episode without a guest in quite some time. Fett has returned, and we'll be talking about kickoff. As you can see down below, kickoff kicks off all of the major regions. That includes 5, because there is a Chinese region now, are competing for their first spot at the Salt Lake City Major. Nobody is qualified yet, though some teams have ultimately failed to qualify. We'll be getting into that later on in the show. Typical run of show for those that are curious. We'll be starting in alphabetical order like always. We're not really going to talk about China because we haven't really been able to watch it. So we're going to go through APL first. We're going to go through the sub-regions there. Then we're going to jump over to EML. Then we're going to do NAL, and we'll end off with SAL. And we're going to be talking about some things behind the scenes as well. I know for those of you that watch the North America League, you're a little curious as to why there's so many rehosts, why there's so much downtime. I can shed some light on that later on in the show. But welcome back, Fett. Welcome, Mint, of course. As always, I'm INTERRO. Thanks for watching DBNO on our 52nd episode. By the way, we are firing through these. Let's start with APL. I know that because of the time zone, we don't really watch it all that much. It is hard for us to view. Fett, you tend to watch it the most out of the 3 of us, but you're about to go into exams, and I believe you're doing a PhD, and exams are kind of important. So were you able, in between all of the T-Hunt that you play on our show, were you able to watch some of the APL episodes?
Give me 1 second. I'm stimming. No, I'm joking. I was not able to watch APL, sadly. I do have remarks on the format, which is very interesting. Everyone had a group stage except for APL, which launched straight into playoff, which is insane. And then I am sad that we don't get... A big complaint was that like CNL wasn't really covered for the rest of the world that isn't China. And I would have really loved to watch it through Twitch or keep up, occasionally, because, Chinese pride, but apparently it's only on like Chinese platforms, and there's like one guy like tweeting out about when stuff is happening.
It's Billy, right? I think it is.
Yeah, it's Billy. Yep.
Yeah.
Is that confirmed? Because we were just talking about that the other day, where they're starting, I believe, this weekend. And
yeah, but like they've announced nothing.
They don't know if there's anything coming on Twitch. Billy, and I feel like for the competitive integrity, like these teams are going to be in Salt Lake City. How are there no VODs for their teams to study CNL?
Yeah, I agree.
So
there's been like one community. I mean, I'm sure it will be on Billy. I just don't know if it'll be on the English-speaking side of everything.
What I've heard is that for the first year, they won't be on Twitch. And I know that there's no English regional broadcasts. I don't know what the rebroadcast rights are. Like, I don't know if I could stream like Billy and talk about it, or stream it on Billy. I don't know. I actually don't know what the rules are, because I actually don't know if it's being run by Blast either. I don't know. Obviously,
it's not even Blast, no?
I think it's Tencent or some Tencent subsidiary, if memory serves me correctly.
On the Wikipedia page for organizers of all the other leagues, it says Ubisoft Blast. For this one, it says Ubisoft Tencent Hero Esports. So I don't think Blast is involved at all, actually.
I did hear Hero Esports when we first talked about the Chinese league. Obviously, it was before the announcement was made in Paris, but we got a heads up when we were doing the group stages that it was coming. I know that some of the APAC guys have some familiarity with some of the Chinese like TOs and in esports and stuff like that. I don't, obviously, but people forget that Manic, the host, Rob Monday, he runs Rect, which is like the production company that does most of the APL stuff. So like he's quite familiar with some of the Chinese product, and he seemed to suggest that, and of course, Rob, if you watch this and I'm misspeaking, I do apologize. But he seemed to suggest that it wouldn't be on Twitch, at least for the first year, which, to your point, is actually very good. What about the teams that want a VOD review? How can they find those VODs and where?
Yeah, I mean,
We're all speechless.
We
No
are
idea.
speechless.
Like I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm with you guys. I actually just want to watch and see kind of what the meta is. There was that one team, All Gamers, was it? That was actually pretty close to making it to SI. And so it's like they're not really that far behind. They got a ton of imports, I believe.
Don't they have 5 teams or 4 teams? They have 4 teams coming for Salt Lake, don't they?
4. I'm pretty sure they get 4.
Yeah.
4
which caused some heartburn from certain regions that thought it was too much too early.
Although it's a majority of spots going to phase 1. So the big 3 regions get a lot going into phase 2, and then China gets all their spots basically in phase 1.
Okay. I'm of two minds on this, and I know that we've talked about this before on the show when we talked about LATAM way long ago. We talked about APAC as well, where it's like iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel. I think if the Chinese teams are able to consistently make it to events, I obviously don't know what kind of build they're playing on. I don't know if they're even able to scrim teams in like Korea and Japan. Obviously, there's still going to be some ping there, but they are closer than like, say, an Australian team trying to scrim them. But I mean, if the teams are already pretty good and they're now getting international experience, in theory, they should be quite good. And I mean, I'm obviously going to paint with a very broad brush here, but most of the esports I watch, Chinese teams tend to do pretty well right out the gate. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw the same in Siege.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm crazy, but that's China, obviously. Let's talk about APL first. So let's go through the brackets. As Fett pointed out, there is no group stage for these 3 APAC subregions. We're going to be starting with APAC North. APAC North is the Korean teams. It is the Japanese teams. You're going to know a lot of these names up here. One big name, quite surprisingly, did not make it. The first team eliminated from the playoff bracket is FURX BNK, or BNK FRX. I forget where it honestly goes. But they got smoked. They lost to Scars 2-0, and then they lost to Help Us LFO 2-0. This was a team that consistently was in like the top 20 globally. What has happened here?
They lost their coach. They lost Dark. Dark went to Virtus.pro. I mean, that's usually what happens to these APAC teams. Like when PSG Talon lost Fabian, which ironically is Help Us LFO's ex-PSG Talon. So that's what happens. I think that was a big part of it. But I don't know. I didn't watch the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we heard Alamau on the podcast previously talk a lot about Dark, and we see what he's doing now on VP, which is absolutely massive. But not only that, looks like they actually went and reconstructed the entire roster. My favorite player, Good Boy. Good Boy's not there anymore. What's happening?
Was he a bad boy?
Man.
He's been a
He
bad
might have been a
boy.
bad boy. Okay, guys. All right. It's like Woogie Man, who I love, Woogie Man. I don't know, going back to SI, whatever it was, when we were in one of those SIs where everyone could, basically, we were like in a factory. Do you remember those, Parker? Where like we were all just in the same practice rooms. They were just like lined up side by side.
Oh, was that the Sweden one where it was they called it like the jungle because it's just like Pojo called it the jungle because one person would bark and then like everybody would just start barking.
Yeah, and there was a time where Woogie Man clutched on stage, and I remember JV92 very clearly started the Woogie Man moaning, chant, whatever, Woogie Man, and then everyone's Woogie. And anyway, he's been one of my favorite players ever since. Great guy. But it looks like they've reconstructed the whole roster around him. Good Boy gone, Mephi gone, Rin gone, Recoded gone.
I mean, they didn't have they didn't have a great result at SI, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I understand it. And I mean, outside of Damwon Kia, Korea has been a bit of a bad region in Siege. That's been like D plus Kia, Damwon Kia, whatever name they went by at different times. They were the standard bearer for the region, right? Like the bones of this team, the bones of this BNK FRX squad go all the way back to like the old Cloud9 roster, the old Mantis FPS roster, Element Mystic, all these different names that it competed under. And they were like perennial top 16. They would come to an event. They would usually surprise on a single day of groups. They would make it to like the final day of groups, and then they would get smoked and they would always go home. Also, to your point about Woogie Man, and you in the comments here can agree with me or not. Every time I hear Woogie Man, I hear it in Tim's voice, Ace of Pyrite. Woogie Man! That's how I hear it in my head. And it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like same with Overtime, which if you're watching, there is an Overtime drone skin in the game that has connections to both Retalia and Meligeni, and then Ace and Dez. You're looking to spend some money in the game. That's a good way to go and do it. Honor those guys for their contributions. But yeah, I mean, they completely retooled the team. I don't disagree with it. And this, I think, comes back to a kind of a conversation we've had many times over where it's like, do you keep the team that makes like top 4, or do you push to be better? Like, is this squad happy being like a perennial 16th to 20th place finishing team? I guess the answer was no, but now they're not even going to be at the event. So
They lost their chance to beat the Mormon moms. No mom talk for them. No?
I
No
can't
Salt
believe
Lake
we're
City?
going to Mormontown, dude. Like, I cannot believe it. Like,
Yeah,
I can believe it.
You believe it?
I believe it. Well, I've heard the reason for. I don't know if you guys have talked about the reason for it on podcast, but I've heard the reason for it, and that makes sense to me. And I don't know if I'm
will
allowed
you
to
be
talk
leaking
about
if
it.
you tell us the reason?
I don't know. It's a word around the mouth reason.
So what I thought, I have no confirmation, and for what it's worth, I am not breaking any NDAs because I have not been told, informed, nor has it even been hinted at as to why we are going to Salt Lake City. So I am genuinely in the dark. I think a couple things happened. I know that some of our viewers don't like us talking about politics, but honestly, if you're going to America at this current point in time, where you go is going to be a political decision. I think when you look at it, if you're going to go to America, you got to go to a big city. At the time that they were making this decision, that's when ICE was descending on a bunch of different cities. There are legitimate fears that people that are in our scene could just be walking down the road at, say, if we had the event in like Minneapolis or Chicago or something like that, where ICE was at the time, somebody could be walking down the street and then just get, thrown in a van, and that's it. So I think Salt Lake City makes sense because it's a blue-ish city in a red state. ICE is unlikely to go to Salt Lake City. ICE is almost certainly not going to go to Utah. And then on top of that, Utah is trying really hard to diversify, which is why they've been pushing so much in traditional sports. You know, they picked up the Jazz, obviously been around for a long, long time, but Space Station is headquartered out of there. Space Station partnered up with the Jazz for a little bit of time. The Phoenix Coyotes, the old hockey team that was down in Arizona, has now moved up and is now the Utah Mammoth, also based out of Salt Lake City. So I do have to wonder if both of those things are part of the reason, if not both of the reasons why. You don't really have to fear ICE. And you've also got a very supportive government that might have even thrown you some money. And that's ultimately why you end up going there.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I'm glad you said it because I'm glad. Like I didn't know if I could say that or not, but yeah. And reminder, PSA: if you're under the age of 18, even if a parent, you cannot go. Which is very, very sad.
Yes, that is actually very, very good. If you are 17, you cannot go with a parent. You have to be 18. That was the Gamescom, I think in Germany was like that. They actually had to put they had to put like a curtain around the booth in Germany because people Germany had such strict laws on like age restrictions that if you were under the age of like 16 or 18 and you were walking through the convention hall at Gamescom, you were not supposed to be allowed to see Rainbow Six unless you were over the age of 16 or 18. Yeah. Gamescom was actually the last event before I became a caster. So I watched it from home. Actually, I watched it from Pearson Airport because I was flying out to New York City to go to a friend's wedding party. But anyway, that's why I heard they were going to Salt Lake City. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to take you guys off mark. I'm going. I'm excited to go. I'm excited to see Salt Lake City. Fett, you can't go.
Yeah. And I'm choosing not to go. Busy month. Crazy.
You have a wedding to go to.
Yes.
But not his own. Sorry, ladies.
Ah.
I know. Can we podcast when you go to this wedding? What if we just make a detour and we just podcast from it?
Yes, I'm down. I'm down.
Ceremony in the back.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Let's do it.
Ubisoft, if you're watching this, there happens to be a really big co-streamer who averages about 400 to 500 viewers for every single show day who doesn't get brought to your events. His name is Mint, and you should invite him to Salt Lake City as a co-streamer.
I'm a small fry.
Oh my goodness. 500 viewers, Code. What are you fucking talking about?
I'm a small fry. It's all good. You know, Salt Lake's only 4 hours, and girlfriend's family lives there. Not Mormon, but
they're golfers.
They are okay. Yeah, they're golfers. We actually just watched. My joke, by the way, you guys probably have no idea. The Salt Lake, what's that called?
Mormon Moms.
Yeah, thank you. The Mormon Moms. That's what I was going. We actually
know
just watched all 3 seasons. Well, we just watched.
Is
all
it a
3
show?
Seasons. Yeah, the Real Housewives. There it is. You know when you get like
I know the Real
Housewives
series,
you get a fiance, whatever it is, you get a partner, and you watched reality shows. That's what we were obsessed with this last month. And then I'm like, hey, we're gonna be in Salt Lake City.
I lucked out because it's like all my friends are like, oh, my girlfriend made me watch Love Island. And the other one's like, my girlfriend made me watch Love is Blind. And my girlfriend's like, I'll watch Survivor. And I'm like, fuck yes. Like I have won.
50th anniversary.
50th anniversary right now. Look, man, I don't care. I fucking love Survivor. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
What a great show. What was like when you kept saying Mormon moms, it made me think of when they first announced that Salt Lake City was getting a hockey team and people were like, the Stormin' Mormons is what they should have called them. And I was like, that's a fucking awesome name.
That's a great name.
And then they wanted to call them the Yeti, but apparently there was some trademark dispute with the company Yeti. So like, we're going to call it the Mammoth. And I was like, were there even mammoths in Utah?
Close enough.
I digress. Okay. Back to APL. So if you look at the bracket that is on your screen, there are a couple things that stand out. Kyno Gaming is a name that we have seen before. I will admit that I did not do enough prep work on this APL bracket. I don't know if Kyno has made it. The only one I can think of that they might have made it to would have been the Copenhagen one that we had, where there was like 20 something teams that made it, and then they eliminated a bunch of them before it actually started, if you guys remember that. But I mean, CAG and D+ have to play each other, and Scars is now down in the lower bracket. Only one team makes it out of this one, if memory serves correctly.
Oh shit, for real?
I think so. Let me take a look.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
you're right. It's
right.
Asia. Asia
two
sends
teams
two.
Of Asia, and then one team OCE, one team. So it's 4 APL total, and Asia gets the bulk, the half the spots. I see. That makes sense.
Yeah. So what are we thinking here? I mean, Kyno Gaming needs to win 2 more. So the thing is, obviously, you have to win the whole bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Very different for when we talk about EML, where it's like you basically just need to make the semifinals, and you're like, woo, we did it, we made it. And then it's like,
yeah. I mean, I have no idea. I'm very unfamiliar with all the rosters. The only rosters I see remnants of a bunch of different rosters around, right? Like, but I'm mostly unfamiliar. I'm mainly rooting for T+ to lose because they still have a fully imported roster over there, and I don't like that. I don't like them, so I still want them to lose, and that's it. I'm just hate watching.
I think I was gonna say it, but I think that is the favorite. I think that CAG D+ game is probably pretty big over there. I think the big thing for D+ is that they got Muzi instead of Bullet, I believe it is. So technically, they upgraded the fragging power. Muzi been around for a while. That guy used to gun me when I played.
Pino still on D+ Kia as well?
No, Pino's on NIP.
Oh, he's still on it. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But they were the.
I thought there was another NIP player that was on D+.
I mean, they got Falls. I just had the roster pulled up here.
Wait, so technically they have 2 major winners?
No, it's just Muzi.
Nears, Falls,
no,
Muzi.
was an SI winner, and Falls is the Mexico major win. No. Levy is a Mexico
Levy
major.
Or Levi,
yeah. Levy's a Mexico major winner. Damn, a lot of talent on these APAC import. I mean, these full Brazilian rosters in APAC, bro.
Falls is also just not a bad player, even if he doesn't have a lot of hardware. Like Falls is a decent player.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
That might be
I hope they
lose.
lose.
To watch them.
I mean, like great players. Hope they lose. Sorry.
Yeah. But most likely they're the favorites.
I struggle with this, right? Like there's a part of me where it's like, like these guys being in APAC is going to hopefully make APAC better because you're playing against better teams and better players.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another part of me where it's like, just playing fucking Brazil. Like you're Brazilian, like go back to Brazil, like field like an actual Korean team or like a Japanese team or one of the, like from the region. Like I'm 50-50 on it. Like I understand why the decision is made, but I don't know. I can never. I often side with you guys. I'm like, I want to hate watch. I'm so down to hate watch import teams. Like, then there's another part of me where it's like, what if this D+ Kia roster objectively makes the region better?
Well,
that's kind of good, you know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
In CNL, I heard that there was a rule. Is there not a rule?
I have no idea.
I heard.
Well, I've also heard they don't do imports in the Chinese league.
Yeah.
What I will say is typically imports themselves get worse by getting into a region. Like for example, when Los tried to like do stuff in NA, like they just got fucking rinsed. You know, like typically speaking, and like there was multiple events where Elevate and D+ just didn't qualify for, even though that should wipe the region. I think the roster themselves get worse. But speaking of teams that reverted off of import rosters, Elevate did that in the APL Asia. I don't know if that was a good segue. I don't know if there's more to say about APL North. So I don't know.
We basically said all we can because we didn't watch it, right? Like the favorite should be D+ Kia, but I mean, like Scars can always give like a good run. Like CAG can always give a good run, but like
Yes.
C plus Kia made SI. They didn't look like a terrible team at SI, so like,
Yeah.
a great segue.
Great segue. But speaking of Elevate, yep, they are in APAC Asia. They have recently picked up, they've gotten rid of their full Brazilian team and they got a brand new team, which is all Asian. I'm joking. But they got Barcode, Joe Gore, Momo, Nicole, and Shibe Nuts. No idea who the last three are, but I have heard of Barcode and Joe Gore before. Joe Gore was the big player on not Dire Wolves. Daystar, that's what it is. He was on Dire Wolves. He was on Daystar for a bit. Daystar surprised, I believe, by making it really close against a couple big name teams at SI. They put up a really good fight against FURIA, I believe, but they ended up just dropping Joe Gore at the end of the season, and he was their top performer. So I wonder what the issue was there, whether that was attitude or not. Like you obviously point to that, but here we are in APAC, and the big names, right? Weibo already in the upper bracket final. That's the top roster there, I think, by far. Reaps actually came from GVC, which is lore. If you're a CNL, if you want to watch CNL, basically Reaps came from the OG Pioneer series in China, and that's where he came up. So Weibo was a favorite, but then you have Daystar, surprised a lot at CNL. Fury has a player named Labyrinth, who was one of the 1v1 representatives at the 1v1 tournament at SI, and he played all the Ying shotgun there, so that's going to root for them. And then Soul's Heart is old Elevate, so the old Onigiri roster is Soul's Heart minus Onigiri. Orchid is old Fury, and then I don't know anyone else. But yeah, there you go. That's Fett lore on Asia. For some reason, I actually recognize a lot of people here.
Fury got kind of fucked with this bracket, eh? To play Weibo right in a Daystar 1-2 is just like, who you have to face the Avengers game 1.
Yes.
And then when you lose to the Avengers, you have to fight like the X-Men second. And it's just like, okay. Where it's like, obviously, like, you know, you've got good players on some of these teams, but it's like if they had swap like Team Orchid out, like Fury played Unreal Nightmare in their first game, like, you know, like it's kind of it's a rough go of it for them. But
yeah, I think the big performer last year definitely was Daystar for me. They qualified 2 events over the Elevate Brazilian team, and they all so back in stage 2 for the Munich major, they beat Elevate to get to, I believe, the major qualifier, and then Weibo beat Elevate in the upper bracket, so it was like a 2-for-2. And then they surprised a lot of people at SI, and then they also made SI through the LCQ by beating all gamers, which was sad for me. So I definitely think the favorites here are Daystar and Weibo, just as like an outsider analysis. But then I don't know, because that's the thing, right? It's like it's rough because you don't get a lot of playtime in this format. You just get thrown into it. You're in a playoff bracket. Go qualify. You know, and a lot of times teams need time to, you know, equilibrate, to stabilize, like to find their footing. A lot of teams enter tournaments cold, and that's usually like what the criticism around events like EWC with their competitiveness is the format, right? It's like if you let teams get eliminated in 2 games or 2 days, then how competitive really is your event? The whole point of having W Limeracks, the whole point of having a Swiss system, the whole point of having multiple rounds of survival is so that the quote-unquote most consistently best teams make it to the end and are properly seeded such that they will make it to the grand final. So this is a bit rough on that end, but at the same time, kickoff in general is rough because there's like trying to squish an entire Pro League stage into the matter of like 3 weeks, basically.
I get this thought process, but then I also like look at the NFL. You play a single game, right? Like you qualify for the playoffs. You play 1 playoff game, you get knocked out. That's it. You're done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I mean, I understand obviously esports and like, you know, like a kind of like a violent sport like the NFL are very different. But it's like, that's part of what makes winning in like the NFL so challenging is like, if you have a bad day, that's it. Your whole season is worthless if you have 1 bad game. And like, I kind of get it. It's thrilling and whatever. But then there's another part of me where it's like, if it was a best of 3, you know, would it be more competitive? And we say this in Siege, right? Like a best of 1 is the least competitive game mode that we can play. Best of 3s, best of 1, any team can win. Best of 3, usually the better team wins, but still, you have an off day. One of your players has an off day. That can be all the difference. Best of 5, usually the best team wins. Like 95% of the time, the best team wins in a best of 5. So obviously you can't really like extrapolate it the way that you would other sports, but it's like I look at it and I'm like, well, if they show up and they play 2 matches and they suck, in both those matches, then do they deserve more opportunities? Like I think you make a very good argument that they don't. Like they should have just been better. All the other teams could have sucked too, and they didn't. So
yeah, if you're competing, you should have that mindset for sure.
Yeah. No bad days.
No bad days.
Patriots went undefeated in the regular season, lost the Giants in the Super Bowl the whole season, all for naught.
What's going on here? We got a Canadian talking about football right now, eh?
Oh
You're
We
not
watch the
hitting us with
NFL up
hockey
here.
schedule?
We
Okay.
watch the NFL up here. The Blackhawks have been out for weeks. I don't give a shit about hockey anymore. I won my fantasy hockey league, and the Blackhawks suck. So I win and I lose.
There we
no!
go.
I'm way too
I
chronically
finally beat
online
Jesse
to
in
understand
fantasy
any of this.
hockey. Jesse has beaten me in fantasy hockey 3 years in a row. If I had lost to Jesse again this year, I probably would have jumped off my balcony. But I beat Jesse and I beat my buddy and I won the whole league.
Wait, are the Blackhawks my team?
They are in Chicago, yes.
Yes.
They are in Chicago.
Wait, you
Yes.
said they good? They bad? They good?
They're
They win,
dog
they
shit.
lose?
Dog shit right now.
No!
They won. So I grew up in a part of North Toronto in North York. I think I've told the story before, called Willowdale. And when you're a child, you don't know what any of the logos mean. And when we used to go to skating, like field trips, the arena that we went to was called the Bayview Arena, and it's where the Willowdale Blackhawks play, like an amateur team. So all around the top of the arena is just like the Blackhawks logo, and you're like a fucking child, and you just see it, and you're like, oh, there's my hockey team, and you don't know any better. And then as you start to get older, you're like, well, I've kind of liked this team for a while. Like, why do you become
so
a
you're
fan of?
inadvertently a fan of my team. Let's go.
Well,
Park.
also like Chicago's also my favorite American city. Chicago and Toronto are both sister cities. Like they both kind of
We're
developed
blood
the same.
brothers.
Like, are you from
Literally
Texas?
Related.
Are you from
Yes.
Texas?
Yes. Don't talk about it.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
I
Kyle,
have
anything
nothing
to add about
Yeah, I'd love to give you my
Asia?
thoughts about Weibo Gaming, actually. I'd love to give
Give
you my
'em.
thoughts. Here it is. I have seen the light. I have seen the light with Weibo Gaming. I don't even care. Listen. I don't even care who comes in second. Weibo Gaming is a top 8 team in the world. Weibo Gaming, and I've seen the light. I'm so how many LAN events does Weibo make it to in the past year and a half that we like have just written off as getting grouped, and then they just beat all our NA teams and send us home because they're just like the dark horse of the tournament. They have disgusting players on that team. I think we gotta start giving more credit to some of the players that they got. Reaps is legit, even though that guy has the highest sense of all time. The Gohan acquisition, I mean, now Meepy's off the team, Gohan acquisition was also big for them. They now have Brazilian influence in Weibo Gaming. The rest of they just seem to work really well together. I feel like APAC is just easy for them. They're just like asleep half the yeah, sure, they had an 8-7. They probably were asleep, not even trying. Okay, they're just saving maps. They're maps maxing. Is that what they say?
Maps maxing.
Yeah.
Lose I say lose maxing.
Okay,
They're
lose
just
maxing.
mogging NA,
Rep-
maps maxing.
They're just
and
mogging.
then-
Reps
they're
reps
mogging, dude.
maxing.
They're just
I
mogging.
completely agree on the Gohan. I think a lot of teams that like before you might have had like mediocre expectations, pick up a really good Brazilian coach, are popping up like Wildcard with Lagonas.
Mhm.
Weibo with Gohan, just nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, so I don't even care who else makes out of the region. Whoever else makes out of the region, my honest thoughts, probably getting grouped. Thanks for showing up. But Weibo, I do think are legit. And again, looking at the results, we got to start putting them in like top 8 territory. Now, the question is, can they ever get past top 8? Because that seems to be their ceiling as a top 8 team. They got what?
It's the old
7th, 8th
Bleed and Joel team, by the way, if people need
Yes.
some. Yes.
They got 7th, 8th at Invite. They got 9th through 11th at Munich. And then EWC, they also got 5th through 8th. So it's like, that seems to be their ceiling. And it's like, can they punch through? Kind of reminds you of that Bliss roster from the OCE,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like, they're just like right there. Can they just make it through? We'll see. We'll see the impact of Gohan. Again, seem to be big at SI. I'm excited to watch them the rest of the year. I just wanted to give APAC their flowers. I feel like this team is actually legit.
We got a compliment for us hyping up Nip on the last episode, by the way. Which
I'm a Nip Glazer.
I
That sounded
like
weird to
Ninjas
say.
in Pajamas, man. Julia was one of my favorite players. I've talked about this quite extensively. Like I don't love teams. Like teams don't really matter to me. It's like players and stories and stuff. But man, I love Julio. There's just something about him. And I do want to take just a second here to say, when we have guests on the show, we understand that comments slow down quite a bit because we don't do call to actions. It's more about telling a story. So for those of you that are still watching, sharing, and commenting, it means the world to us. The Alamau episode was so well received, and I'm going to take a second to say that if it was just Alamau and I, that episode is nothing. Mint, you were the star of that show, and I think you did a killer job with it. And I'm excited for us to have more guests on our next episode, which is today. We are filming on Wednesday. The idea is that this goes live before the final play day of NAL on Friday, I think it is. Our next episode, you're going to get to shine yet again because we're bringing on some of the new players from the NA League, 2 of the teams that newly qualified, some fresh new faces, and you're going to get to talk ball with them.
Love talking ball. Thank God we got Fett on this episode, so I have someone to talk ball with again. You know,
I'm useless. I have no balls. Sorry,
washed.
I mean I have no ball
balls.
knowledge. No ball knowledge.
Yeah.
No ball knowledge.
I got nothing else for Asia. If y'all got nothing else for Asia,
we're good.
All right.
I think that obviously, you know, the consensus pick is Weibo. They've been really good. They cruised through the groups at SI, and then obviously there's that hump that Mint mentioned that's just really tough for them to get over. The rest of the teams are just kind of playing catch up. I like that Elevate went back to their roots and picked a homegrown roster. Very, very excited to see them play Team Orchid. I think that will be a very good game. But I mean, Weibo is at this point, Weibo is a single best of 3 away from qualifying, and might actually, depending on the schedule, they might actually be the first team to qualify for Salt Lake City. But I think they play on the 11th or the 10th. I honestly can't remember. It's all the schedules are just in my brain. Oceania. We got some teams that we know, some surprising results. Enterprise made some changes after SI. They are now 2 victories away because APAC North sends 1 team. Asia sends 2. Australia/Oceania sends 1. So Enterprise right now probably the hands-on favorite, especially with Chiefs getting knocked to the lower bracket so early and then struggling against Barbie boys. Maybe underperforming their potential, especially with relays going from Enterprise onto that Chiefs team. Like that Chiefs team really, like on paper, should not be in the position they're in, but crazy things happen. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts, but I mean, Enterprise has to be the favorite, right?
You mean Tuhan Esports?
Ooh,
the what?
Yo, some ball knowledge happening right now. I don't know.
That's Tuhan Esports. We don't. Tuhan. Every time Enterprise makes land, like that's the guy. That's the only guy.
Who's the guy who dropped
like
fucking?
Team.
Who's the guy?
20 on Furia.
20 on Furia.
He dropped 20 on him.
You know how Bam Adebayo drops 81 points in the NBA and it's like headline news and people are talking about it. Like, we gotta do that with Siege, man. Because, like, we'll see, like, Tuhan, like, 20 kills, and we'll be like, psh. Because, like, in reality, right, it's, like, a little bit, psh. But, like, we need to hype that up. We need to make storylines out of nothing all the time. I need to glaze every single time the numbers are big, and then build a bunch of storylines. And even if someone's, like, a LaMelo Ball on the Hornets, they're another selling point for me. We don't have enough Stephen A. Smith shit. We got too many realists and Debbie Downers in R6. I need to start glazing everyone. Like, I'm proud of what I did with Riaz, bro. And then he turned out to be... Nah.
We'll get there.
Nah. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Let's overhype. Let's overhype everyone. Overhype is good.
You want to know something kind of funny here, though? Jigsaw is the second... On Enterprise, is the second highest rated player in Oceania at the moment. Bappin is 4th highest rated player. Tuhan is presently the worst rated player on Enterprise at the moment.
Stats mean
some
nothing.
people.
He's got a 96 EPS with a +3 KD. He's playing a lot of support ops. He's playing a lot of Kaid. He's been playing a lot of Ace and Thermite. He's not exactly fragging as much as he used to, but I mean.
Wait. That's too much lack of narrative. Sorry. You got to do the right way. Is Tuhan washed? What happened to him? Why does he suck in APAC after dropping 20 on the greatest team at the time in history? Find out next episode.
Find out on the next episode, which is centered entirely around North America and may not have Fett on it. That's fine. That's perfect.
I fucking love that.
Oh my god, I have nothing on OC. I'm so unfamiliar with the players in this region. The last time I knew people in this region, I'm so sorry, was Bliss. And then before that, it was Mag and Virtue. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, OC.
Hey, again, I miss the Bliss days. I miss the Bliss boys. Wettables, I'm always gonna love that guy for his mustache. Unfortunately,
He's
Barbie
playing.
boys, not anymore.
I thought Wettables was playing on a team. Yeah, he is. He's on Barbie. Well, I mean, they lost.
Oh shit, he is on Barbie.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Did they not go against the Avengers? Barbie boys versus
lost.
Enterprise, and then Barbie boys versus Chiefs. How fair is that?
You raise a very good point, my friend.
That's
You raise a
messed
very
up.
good point.
Shit.
So Wettables, my favorite player in OCE, out. Now I'm rooting for Man Esports because they got a guy named Beers and Sharky, and I feel like Sharky, that would be a great Australian player name.
Sharky.
Now look, I have a lot of integrity, but I'm about to be a complete hypocrite here. Pluto is technically Canadian, and he's the highest rated player in Oceania, so I love imports. I love imports. Love
Is he
that
gonna
a
make the
Canadian
Canadian
Australian
national team?
player playing on Man Esports. This is for the king.
Yeah.
This is for the king, for the Commonwealth.
For the Commonwealth.
For the Commonwealth. I started watching Formula One, and I just was drawn to, what is it, Ollie Behrman?
Yes. I love Ollie
I was
Behrman.
like, Behrman's a sick fucking name. I gotta like this kid.
Well, I think he just drives like a fucking maniac. Like I think
He's
he
not
goes
very
for every
good
risk.
this season. He's not very good, but I like the
Well,
name.
It's it's the academy. I think I'm so sorry if I get this wrong. It's the ACAD team of Ferrari. So one, it's an ACAD team, and then two, yeah.
I have not been watching Formula One by choice. My friends have watched it in Discord at ludicrous hours, and I get suckered into it. And it's, it's fun. I enjoy it. I know that I will be pissing off. I suspect that there will be some Formula One enjoyers amidst our subscribers.
I just hate Lando Norris. If you know, you know. I just hate watch Lando Norris because he's my girlfriend's favorite driver. So I just hate watch him.
Wait, you like jealous?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I can't get out.
at any moment you think your girlfriend's just going to run away with Lando Norris?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
It's a very real fear, man. It's a very real fear. Speaking of subscribers, we are agonizingly close to 15,000 subscribers. We've been averaging over 15,000 views for a number of our episodes. So if you do not, at this point in time, if you are not subscribed, what the hell are you doing? Hit that button. Let's get over 15,000. Let's see how high we can get. Good things will happen. Producer Dave will get 2 Lambos. Still doesn't even have one as far as I'm aware. Gents, anything more to talk about Australia?
No. Only off-topic things, but no.
Best of luck, Australia. All right. We will turn our eyes to EML, who, lucky enough, just concluded their final play day mere hours before we went live recording here. And because of that, we've got some really nice information for you. On your screen should be group results. Those are the 5 play days that went out, and with it in just a second, we'll show you what that means for the actual group stages. Just talking about these matches, Mint, I know you co-streamed every single one of these days. Was there a standout match or day in particular that you think is worth talking about? That's about to sneeze his brains out.
Bless you.
Bless you. There you go.
Okay, it really looked like it was happening.
I couldn't tell.
Standout day. Standout day. That's a great question. Maybe the VPG2 game, because I do
that's
think.
like
What?
That's the only game. That's literally the only game I can remember it being.
It was a fucking incredible game.
It was an incredible game, and
it was an incredible game.
I mean, VP is the standout team that I'm sure we'll talk about in a second here. Unfortunately, they lost today, which was upsetting. But like again, they shake up the roster. They keep Dan. They keep Pasha. They build around their best 2 players. They get Rorik, sorry, I think is the upcoming Russian player. Naquo, most importantly, a brand new coach with Dark, who Alamau said a lot of nice things about. Put us on some ball knowledge with that. And VP looks like a brand new, actually formidable team. Lots and lots of cheese. And they ended up taking them to Consulate, which is a very good G2 map. G2 only lost that map once prior with Stompin on the team, which was against Secret at SI. And VP takes them back to Consulate. Clinical attacks. Peek in the sky late last round. And yeah, I mean, that was probably the notable game. Kind of showed, like, they showed up. And honestly, at that point, G2 was kind of locked the rest of the time in EML. But I've been having a ton of fun watching EML. There's some very competitive teams.
I think that EML has made some pretty big strides. Again, Kickoff is kind of tough because it's just a bunch of best of ones and you're at the mercy of your group. Like you could get a really tough group, like stylistically, and that's it, right? And because of these results, we know the two teams that are not making it to the playoffs. So the top 8 are all locked in. Team Heretics, which is an organization that represented Project Zero, which was the EML, or well, they weren't even technically EML. They were a tier 2 EU team that played at the Spoy Contender Series here in Toronto, and then they qualified for SI. Team Heretics, a massive Spanish organization, stepped into Rainbow Six Siege. They picked up the team just for SI. That's how long the contract was. And then they announced that they would like to stick around the scene, and they picked up one of the teams that qualified through the Challenger Series, which was that old Mako squad, the Italian squad. Obviously, there's different players. One of them has already been talked about on this show just mere moments ago, and they are one of the first teams to go out. GK or GK Esports, depending on how you pronounce it, is the other team. Now, that's not the Saudi Arabian team that you might be thinking of. Yes, it is a Middle Eastern org, as far as I'm aware, but they took over Gen G's license in the EML, and then they assembled this, I don't even really know what you'd call it, but just it's packable, it's hungry, it's ask. It's a bunch of players that you never would have thought of playing on the same team. Obviously, the results were not very good. They managed to get 4 points. They weren't anywhere near as bad as Team Heretics, but ultimately, they weren't good enough. They finished last in their group, so Team Heretics and GK/GK Esports are no more. They will not make it to Salt Lake City.
Yeah. So EML, I think, had probably like some of the most exciting storylines, roster moves, everything, new teams this whole season, right? Like, first of all, Shaiiko to G2, just the most anticipated roster, the most anticipated game ever was to watch that first one play. Jume to Falcons, absolutely fucking insane move. And then out of left field, right? Virtus.pro just being a really good roster off the rip. That was surprising. It's like, I had no idea that getting Gen G players and throwing them together with Russian players would work. But I guess Dark is a magician. And just starting off the play days, it really seemed like the storylines were so good. Twisted Minds, old Falcons roster, just playing insane. Riaz, the player hyped up for having the most disgusting mechanics ever, just went 0-8. Like, and then Blaz on his new team went 12-3. Like, the first, and G2 loses to VP. Like, the first day was just nuts. And then, like,
you haven't even said Shaiko's name.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like G2 like looked really cool with their like new identity. They have a bunch of like entry players, so why not do a bunch of entry stuff? They don't bring nearly enough util for a lot of these strats, but they fucking spam the Snake Dokkaebi Demos, and they just crank. They just fucking go for the entry kills, and I think that works out really, really well for them. What are the things were cool that happened? I mean, yeah, like Revenge, like Secret comes off the gate looking like poo-poo, because they just lost 2 of their best players. But then they go against Falcons, against their old teammate, and Noah turns the fuck up. I mean, Noah's been turned the fuck up for the whole season. And it pisses me off, like, how much disrespect is put on Noah's name. Because people act like they have no idea who Noah is. And because they have no idea who Noah is, all Siege rankings and casual viewer minds is just a popularity contest.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing really, really quickly, because I actually kind of fell victim to this. Noah competed years ago under the name like Noah Urs, like URZ.
Yeah.
Like one word. It kind of looked like Nars, like an Australian. And I stupidly did not put 2 and 2 together that this was the same person. He dropped it. Now he just competes under Noah. And I kind of have to wonder if his not super great performance combined with having a different name made people be like, well, where's this guy come from? It is a possibility. Maybe I'm just stupid.
He was just a T2 player that like got like cranked through with the team, made it to Pro League, and they played basically still at a T2 level into the breach, and then they just kept cranking, and then now he's like world eater level, and he's absolutely insane. And there's a reason why he's in a lot of people's top 3, top 4 in like the year list. Riaz sadly used to be my like even years ago I made a video about how Brazil like has a secret aim method, and then I like the point of the video was that they look like they're on controller and they play like super simple like default cross replacement siege. And what Riaz was my prime example of a player who is basically hard stuck T2 but had some of the most mechanical aim in the world, and he's absolutely insane. And I think the result is expected. The idea here, like to me, sadly, he's an example to prove to the people that being the flashiest, most disgusting player in the world has nothing to do with how proficient of a professional player you are in Siege. Sad to say, but at the end of the day, for him as a person, I do hope he keeps his head up and he keeps grinding, because I did see slight improvement through the games, and I will not buy the excuse of you have a spotlight on you and the pressure gets to you. Like, the pressure gets to most people. That's how it is. But can you imagine how much pressure was on Bolo, was on Spoit, was on Stompin when they first started, and yet they rose above and outshone everyone. This is a common thing, and this is what you have to do. To be the best in the world, you have to rise above that pressure. And that's simply the challenge that is put in front of you, and that is simply a challenge you have to overcome. It's default. That's all it is. Stop being a fucking pussy.
By the way, to your point about his potential, he is the 4th lowest rated player in the entire EML kickoff, and the only people around him are IGLs. Like, it's like IGLs and hard support surrounding him. And if you want to talk about Noah, Noah has the highest KD of any player in the EML. He has the best entry stats of any player in the EML, and is tied with Solitov for the highest rating in the entire EML. And that's with Secret not even dominating their games. Like, Secret were an okay team, but they didn't finish top in their group. So it's like Noah's doing all this. +7 on entry. Next highest is +5, which was Solitov. Like, KD is +18. Next highest is +15, tied by both Jume and Shaiiko. Like, 128 EPS, tied with Solitov. Like, Noah's been incredible. And I think you have to ask the question, has he been given more space and more opportunity to succeed now that Jume is gone? Because obviously bringing on Nathan Citizen is going to change up the roles ever so slightly on that Team Secret squad. So, anyway.
Oh, and the last thing I'll say before I pass it on, I've been like rambling for a bit.
You've not been rambling.
The other player, the other World Eater that has really stood out to me, at least in individual matches or his first individual matches, is Jume on Falcons. Large shoes to fill in the eyes of the community. People thought it was like Luka Doncic being traded from the Mavs, but in pro players' eyes, a lot of people saw this as an upgrade. And he showed that in the first 2 games where he went absolutely fucking disgusting and dropped, I'm pulling the CCG stats as we go here. He went 11-3 against Rebels, which is fine. And then he went 17-5, +4 on entry, +12 on KD against Twisted Minds. Now, I remember bringing this on Twitter because this was a 7-2. A 7-2-17 bomb is way different from a 20 bomb on 8-7. Like, the amount of chances you get, plus that means like the kills per round was very, very high. Plus, the desk said 7 rounds he had at least a 3K. Plus, that means the kills were always translating to wins. You could bait your ass off and drop 5 kills every round and still lose every round and have a crazy KD, and people tell you your teammates absolutely fucking horrible. But at the end of the day, your frags might have been completely impactless, sadly speaking, right? That's not the case with Jume. So Jume rhymes with Doom. Fucking nuts. Shaiiko also seems to be playing out of his mind on G2, which is great to see that team is meshing together so well, and that as a byproduct of Stompin being shoved onto the old Blaz rules, as Alamau himself confirmed in a call with me. The revenge game for Blaz unfortunately did not go his way, and I believe Stompin went really positive in the game, showing Blaz that you can perform on those roles. So that's all the narrative I'll spit for today. That's my brain rot brain.
There are only 3 players that dropped 40+ kills so far through the group stages. The 3rd place player was Dan. He finished with 42. Shaiiko, 44. Noah, 47. It's like, those are great numbers, and you're cut above. So if you got a guy like Noah and you're like, hey, this guy is basically the equivalent of Shaiiko. He's actually better than Shaiiko, just numbers wise. And I would argue that Noah brings more to Secret than Shaiiko brings to G2, but that's a whole other conversation here. Kyle, you as the ball knower might disagree with that, but I think that Noah is more valuable for Secret than Shaiiko is for G2. Like, these guys are just in a cut above. It is good to see that Jume is flourishing on his role. How many times have we seen a guy absolutely tear it up on a team and then get moved to, you know, a bigger team or a team with a higher salary or something, and then they don't perform? It happens quite often. So Jume being able to go onto that Falcons team, slotting in the way that he is, I think is great to see. And I like that, like, the fraggers of EML are fragging. This is like the usual suspects are there. The players are showing up. We haven't even said his name, but Benjamasters also looked very good on G2, which is a bit of a contrast to SSG, where frankly, there were a lot of games where Benjamaster looked like one of the worst players on that SSG roster, and he's fitting this G2 roster so far through 4 games, admittedly, like a glove. Lots of good players, and yeah, fraggers are fragging.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to add though, like, I feel like the roster changes during this transfer period just made a lot of goddamn sense for EU in the sense of like where these players went. Like, Jim went to a more serious system that is utilizing him even better with the 13 support staff that they probably have and 10 therapists and, you know, all that they got on the Falcons. He could now be the superstar he was born to be, right? Getting the Shaiiko treatment in a sense. Plus, he's a little bit more modest. Shaiiko also going to G2, where they are having the pressure is off his back. Like, the Falcons is like a pressure cooker situation because they take it so serious, right? We've noted like that it kind of costs them at certain events because of how serious they take things. G2's seemingly having a lot of fun while they play. Alamau getting a lot of hate that they're always laughing, they're always having too much fun, they're literally streaming after their matches. Now Shaiiko gets to go in there and just have fun. Like, he's literally eating popcorn during the fucking match.
I'm so glad you talked about that.
14 kills, right? Like, this is literally the new Shaiiko. Like, he's been talking, like, this whole past year, I feel like he's been talking more in chat, going at people, trying to have like fun in the game and just like loosen up. And now he's on like a content team with Stompin and like the other superstars that he has, and like they're just having fun. So I feel like this is the perfect scenario for someone like Shaiiko, and this is like their vibes. Alamau talked to us a lot about the vibes on the team. I feel like it's such a good fit. So yeah, the roster changes for the 2 G tier players, as Alfama puts them, I think is perfect. I mean, obviously some other really good players like Blaz, I actually think is doing really good on the shifters today as well. He basically, I don't know if he's still on the payroll for G2, but he goes out there and drops 17 to beat VP and get G2 the first
Holy
seed.
Shit.
Yeah, he dropped 17 that guaranteed G2 the first seed.
His PC might be on payroll because his RAM blew up against G2. He went like 2-7. His RAM blew up before the game, so he had to play on a 100 FPS computer. And now he like propels G2 to first seed. No, this guy might still be on G2.
They might have flew him a new RAM or new PC or something.
They're like,
That's
how much
crazy.
is RAM these days?
RAM.
Because he dropped 17. It was insane.
Fuck.
I mean,
that's so funny.
And then this is just me, my resident. So I had to talk about Shaiiko. You know me, resident Shaiiko Glazer here.
Yeah.
I'm also gonna slip in Wizard. Okay, Fnatic.
One of three wizards who play in professional Rainbow Six, by the way.
I'm a wizard. I'm a Wizard Glazer till the day that I die. Like, that guy, I actually think is really good, and unfortunately on a bad team. I still think they're a middling team. They had some success early. I think they beat the Shifters, which was actually a pretty impressive win for them. They got smoked by G2. Wizard, though, is like one of the top. I think he's like top 8 right now.
He's 6th highest rated.
6th highest rated player.
Yep.
I actually think, again, he's having another good stage. And I believe he said he's IGLing for that team. So a young player that took on IGLing. Very similar career record or career to Stompin, I believe, from like EU, the console days. Like, he was a very upcoming, like, good player. I just wish they would build a better team around him, Fnatic, because I actually do think Wizard is really, really good. So glad to see him having a good stage as well. Yeah, I agree.
Just a small thing. That Fnatic team is just such an enigma, right? Like, a huge organization, but since they've been in EML, they just are allergic to putting together a good product. I don't know what it is. I don't get it.
It is sad because the Fnatic rumors were that they actually dropped their entire team. And the rumor that I thought I've heard was they were going to get like a Spoy, like Citizen, like Nafe, like Kenny, and they were going to build a new team. That all fell through, obviously. Like Secret once.
I heard it was going to be a British-led team, was what I'd
like
heard.
a British with
Yeah.
Wizard, because the Wizard were the only player not dropped. They couldn't get
Yeah.
them, so then they got everyone back. Like, let's run it again, but they got Huava and Deadshot back, which is like you're kind of half-assing it. You're not really going all in. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, Deadshot's had a decent career. I don't know where Huava is. Sorry, I don't know ball knowledge on that guy. But yeah, it's like they're still not like a top 4 team. I don't expect. I mean, they got 3rd in the group. That's great. I think it's going to be G2, Virtus.pro, Falcons. For me, I think are the big 3. I don't know if you guys disagree. And then for me, I am glazing and really hoping for Twisted Minds. I love the way they're playing the game, and not only the way they're playing the game, but right now this current meta. Fett talked about it. It's the Intel meta. I don't know if you guys have, I'm sure you have noticed, but it's the Dokkaebi, it's the Deimos, it's the Snake. That is the meta right now.
Yeah.
Very aggressive split attacks. Twisted Minds, one of the first teams in EU that were running it. We've seen them running it on that Fortress where they beat Secret. Very, very good players. We know they want to take fights. So I think that should be your top 4, and I think Twisted Minds could actually upset some teams. And actually be good for EU if they were to make it, but we'll see. It's pretty competitive. Obviously, Secret's getting better. If Noah powers up and they start figuring their shit out, Secret could be their shifters or in the running as well too, as long as Blaz PC doesn't blow up.
Yeah, and contrary to popular, like, I know there's a surface level perception of a lot of these teams, but like when people say like G2 doesn't take things seriously, first of all, they most definitely like practice their asses off and have a hard ass team culture, right? And second of all, I actually think the ability to have fun and laugh things off, as much as it can be frustrating for a viewer, is a very large bonus in terms of competitive optimization. Like, I think the M80 team / Beast Coast team is one of those teams that if they're not actively having fun, they blow dick. They literally blow dick. They'll tilt themselves into oblivion. Same with Falcons, right? They get into every final and they just tilt themselves into oblivion. There's a difference between being able to take the game seriously and being able to laugh off a mistake so that compounding mistakes don't just tilt you after another, and you play worse, you make more mistakes, you get tilted, you yell at your teammates, they get more scared to make plays, they make more mistakes, you yell at your teammates, and then you tilt yourself into a loss, as opposed to you make the most horrendous mistake in your life, but you're able to bounce it off right off you by laughing it off and immediately focusing on the next round. So by that regard, like by a coaching perspective, actually, at least for me, I think it's an optimal thing to be able to have fun. As much as it frustrates the fans when that first became a meme. It's like, oh, this team can't take fucking nothing serious. No wonder why they fucking blow dick.
I love the fact that you hit on the point that I was going to make about Shaiiko, which is that no matter how good LeakyFac and Solotov and all of these guys are on Falcons, it's Shaiko's team. That's how everybody's going to view it. That's, I'm sure, how the community views it. That's how I'm sure the org sees it. Like, Shaiiko is Shaiiko. One of the most notorious, most infamous, most talented players that's ever touched this game. On a good day, easily the best player currently playing the game. On a good day, of course. So what do you do? I think I told this anecdote a couple episodes ago. I think it was the one after SI. I talked to a couple coaches after SI concluded at the after party. I was only there very, very briefly because I had an early flight. But one of the coaches that talked to me basically just said, I don't know if the right coach has been able to reach Shaiiko yet. And I don't know if the right team has been able to reach him. If Shaiiko is too worried about being the biggest fish on his team and one of the biggest fishes, in the region, we'll move him to another team with a bunch of big fish. You've got Doki, you've got Alimau, you've got Stompin, you've got these huge, like Benjamaster's a quiet guy. He's still got a big following, but it's like this team is like G2. They know, G2. You know about these players. Shaiiko can be Shaiiko, but like he's not the star of the show. He's got a big supporting cast. And as you saw over the last, couple events, Julio and the rest of that Falcons team were working really hard to get them like barking and get them really animated. And you guys even said it. He's typing in chat. He's been streaming more. He's been memeing more. I wonder if this is maybe he's just becoming more comfortable with his English. So you're starting to see more of his personality that would be present if you spoke French, but maybe he just wasn't able to do it in English. I'm not sure. But it definitely seems like he's fitting this roster like a glove. And look no further than, him leaning back, eating popcorn out of a popcorn bag. When the fuck would Shaiiko have done that on any of his previous teams? Like, never. Never. This guy's sitting there clenching his jaw with his bright red cheeks, looking like he's about to have a brain aneurysm, even when he's winning because there's so much pressure on him. And now he can just be Shaiiko. Now he can just kind of be like a meme lord dickhead. And I think it's working really well for the team, and it's working really well for him.
He did whip out a controller one game day.
Oh yeah.
Last year. I think, but I do agree looks more comfortable.
Yes.
On the other end, something you said earlier about Noah contributing more to Secret than Shaiiko contributed to G2. I do think Shaiiko actually does contribute a massive amount to G2, but I think what you said is true just because Noah's kind of like just solo carrying the boats on Secret. Just to be completely fucking frank. Like, I think that is the case because of Shaiiko's slacks for a second. He has some of the best cast around him to lift that weight, whereas Noah like simply has to become a world eater, otherwise his team would not even like scrape by like into fourth place. So sad reality for Noah, but I'm glad. I like, the biggest thing for me is I just want to shine the light on just who he is. Like, I don't care if you rate him below or above other players. It's just disrespectful to be like, who's Noah? Noah? Who the hell is Noah? And then it's like that for that reason you don't rate him as a player. Like, go watch him. Go watch some pro league, bro. Go
watch his episode here on DBNO, albeit briefly.
Yeah.
I think Noah's a terrific player, and I'm glad that he gets to see the success that he's getting. My concern is that if this current iteration of Secret is not able to be a top 4 team, Noah's the next one off the ship. Like, Noah's the next player to go to Falcons or to go to G2 or to go to whatever team is in the top 3. Like that's kind of my concern for the team's Secret roster. Obviously, I don't. It's not like a real concern. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh no. But like, if you're Noah and Team Secret looks like they've regressed, and you don't really see a ton of future there, why would you not do like kind of what Jume did and take some money and go to a more successful team with a higher salary? Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that's a bit of a no-brainer. Like, Noah's a young guy. He's a good kid. I'm a fan of him as a human being, and I think I'm glad that he's getting the attention and the praise he deserves. If you want to throw up producer David from your Lamborghini, if you could throw up the playoff bracket, please, because EML is the only region where the playoffs are locked in after the group stages. Because I know people are going to but APAC. We already talked about APAC. NAL and SAL have not locked in their playoff brackets yet, and as long as this episode comes out on Friday, which is the hope, if you're watching this, it should be Friday. The brackets won't be out just yet. The standings for those regions might be a little outdated, but well, SAL will be fine, but not NAL. The bracket on your screen right now shows you what the landscape of EML is. 2 things to note here. Both G2 and Team Falcons, because 4 teams go to Salt Lake City from EML, all G2 and Falcons need to do is win a single best of 3, and they finish top 4 no matter what happens after that. So G2, you win 2 maps. Congratulations. Salt Lake is yours. Same with Team Falcons. On the other side, Team Secret and Shifters are going to have a pretty brutal run. They will need to win at minimum 2 best of 3s in order to give themselves a fighting chance to make it, and the competition is going to get stiffer the farther they go in. Obviously, you 2 are the experts, not me. Either of you can lead off here. What are your immediate thoughts on the bracket for EML?
Oh, G2 win, Falcon win. Virtus.pro.
Wow, that one's a tough one to predict. The 2 teams the 2 best teams are going to make it. Wow.
And then I'm rooting for Secret, but I do see a world where Twisted Minds too. I also like.
Continue.
I also like don't find a lot of impressiveness in the form of a lot of these teams right now. Like Virtus.pro obviously surprised a lot of people, but when I watch their like identity, I feel like it's a team that's very easily to counter. But maybe it's because it's like a unique identity within EU as a region. Like I think if that team went to NA, they would literally be like 6th place. Like just because like that team is like a very like it's telegraphed and it stays telegraphed for the entire round, and they just do the thing that they were telegraphing for the whole round, and they bash their head into it. At least from, to be fair, I watched one game of theirs, right? But from the one game
It's
that
a
I
huge
watched,
sample size.
yes, huge sample size. I don't know, Mint, if you can corroborate that, but like from one game I watched, it's like there was on consulate, and they did a Montaigne yellow take, and they droned yellow, and then they went yellow, and then they almost never had a lurk, and then they committed yellow every time, and then they just won gunfights. And I feel like that's just like the default NA style, but maybe it works because they're fulfilling a niche in EU. I don't know.
But
Am I
Fett,
wrong?
they played Chalet today. They did a library take, 4-man library take, and one guy
Oh,
backstab trophy jumped into the side player. Wow!
I'm sorry, Cat. No, my
It's
cat,
a new meta out here.
You scared the cat.
VP, they're learning splits. It's crazy. I mean, it's for the most part though. Fett is right. Like the most of their shit is kind of telegraphed. It's just the fact that like Nako's on a shield 100% of the time, and they're bringing cheese. Rick's on like Ying. They're playing a lot of Glass. It's like a souped up. It's like Spider-Man when he gets the new suit. You know, from the,
yes. He's
Tony Stark.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. That's
You're
great.
welcome.
Yeah, it's like he just got powered up.
I'm
Because
here.
now they got cheese to actually like push the needle, you know, instead of just, hey, joystick, can you get a kill? Oh, you're not gonna get the kill because you're washed. So, yeah, I mean they're sorry, I know they hit.
Is the
We're
cat
all
making those
VP
noises,
fans.
or are you making those noises?
I made one of the noises.
Jeez, Fett, you've got a really loud pussy, dude.
Oh.
do you have anything else to say about VP, by the way?
I was going to weigh in very, very quickly. For those that can't see, Fett is very unhappy with my phrasing there, but that's just the way it works. I have to imagine that part of why they shipped off both Karjeka and Shepard was because they felt that the way that they looked at the game was a little outdated. There's obviously been a big change with the way that team plays. Joystick's inconsistency issues could very much be him, but it could also be the way that they're calling. You know, like both Pasha and Dan have not missed a beat. So again, I have to wonder, are the consistency issues that VP had, were they player related or were they leadership related? Because the entire leadership structure of VP has now changed and the team looks rejuvenated. Like I like a lot of the guys on VP. Again, I don't love teams, but I like the players. I was a big fan of a lot of the VP guys. But I think it was abundantly clear that they were struggling to keep up with the current meta. And they, back in the olden days when they were on Empire, you know, which to your point, Fett, I thought was a little funny, where he's like, oh, it seems like, you know, they kind of do the same thing. That was literally Empire's whole shtick. They did the exact same thing every single round, but they were just better than you. You can't really do that anymore. You've got to be able to adapt. VP was not adapting. They would have good games where all their gunners were gunning and then they would fall apart. Not great. Now they seem to have more consistency. They put on what I agree with you, Mint, I think was the best game that we saw of the play days, which was G2 versus VP. I think this is a team that looks quite rejuvenated. And frankly, I will actually be surprised if they fail to make Salt Lake City.
Yeah. I agree. I think there's a big three in EU right now. It's G2, it's Falcons, it's Virtus.pro. I also do agree with Fett, his big overall point. Virtus.pro is in NA. They get 6th place because, I mean, let's just be honest. The reason we said APAC, we're covering the 4th best region, and now we're talking about the 3rd best region, and that's EML. So I do agree. I really think G2 and Falcons are the only one that's really actually impressed me. I've actually become a G2 glazer. I hate to say it. Now that Secret's gone, like their play style is completely different. Secret does not play like Secret anymore. They're boring to watch. It's weird. I feel like they have too many voices in that team. Noah even admitted it during an interview that they're like, that's the biggest thing that they're working on. It's like there's too many. Jume and Adrian didn't talk. Now they got Citizen and Nafe. They do talk. They're trying to figure out their identity. That's going to be taking a while. G2,
There's a lot of talkers on that Secret team, by the way. A lot of talkers.
Yes.
Which can be a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, God.
No. I'm so sorry. That's on me. Sometimes.
Oh, so sometimes I think Savage, first off, I think Savage is a top 3 IGL. I've said that repeatedly. I think that guy is very understanding of the meta. I feel like they should have came into the team. This is just, I have no idea. I'm not inside the team. I don't know what their team identity is like, but I feel like Savage needs like soldiers almost. Like, let's just listen to me. Let's make this opening play, follow my shield, and then let's adapt and go do this. I feel like adding talkers into the team just complicates things. Like Savage already had a great handle. I would have just wished for more soldiers. I feel like, I don't know if Citizen and Nafe are kind of giving input, but at this point in their career, I feel like they should just kind of follow what Savage is doing. That's just my two.
I think the big question mark that loomed over G2 is that they did the thing that, like, G2 ever since the Pengu era would always do this thing. Like, once they blew up the old, like, Fabian Goga team, or not, oh, well, they didn't have Goga, I guess, for a bit. Once they blew that team up, they would basically just try to slam a bunch of star fraggers from a bunch of different teams together, right? And they would, like, force people on support and pray to God that it worked. And it did work one year. It worked in 2023 when they, you know, got Benjamin Master. But you know, it's always a question of, like, how does that team look? You know, usually it ends up pretty bad, especially when they first got Blaz and Loira, right, to replace the consistent core they had before with Benjamin Master and Virtue. And now this time around, you'd say, yes, they get one of the biggest names in the scene, but how will it mesh? And undoubtedly, if you know anything about the game, you know that Stompin is going on the more passive role because he is, like, one of the only passive players on that team. And thankfully, wow, for G2, it looks fucking great. It looks great. It looks like they're able to amplify their playstyle to another level. Where before, it's like them exploding onto 5 pressure points in the map seemed so inconsistent because that's a trick of the trade playstyle. Now it's like you got Shaiiko, who's winning his ones, Doki, who's winning his ones, Benjamin who's winning his ones, and, like, it's just nuts. It seems like a more consistent version of the old explosive playstyle. And even if they're not bringing enough vert for a completely vertical site, or enough capitals or yings for, like, a completely hard spot, like hard extension site, it's like they'll just find a way to make the picks work. And what I love to see about the team is that when you have a team that has one of the best fast players in the world and then one of the best slow players in the world, you cover both spectrums. It's like the cyber effect on FaZe, where you have both ends of the speed limits, and because you have both ends of the speed limits, you can play any game you want. And even if Shaiiko fails, Stompin will clutch up. And even if Doki fails, Shaiiko will refrag. And even, like, it's just insane. It's just insane.
Yeah. Can I add on to that too? Can I add on to the Glaze?
Yeah.
Why they've been my favorite team? Today was a masterclass from G2. Like, today they finally sold me in what I needed to see. We already know G2 is a phenomenal attacking team. I love the way that they play attack. You just touched on it. They have the fragging power. But today they showed another side, which is, one, on the defense side, but two, strategically. Who did they play again today? I can't even freaking remember. Okay, thank you. The way they played Fnatic today, they could have just outgunned them, to be honest. They probably could have just ran some default strats. We've just said they have some of the best fraggers on that team. But it was a complete strategical masterclass on Fortress. Because they already showed there's 2 ways to play Fortress. One is the heavy trap style and extend and fight. That's more G2's strength. But today they showed playing a more bunkered wall denial setups, which is what I've been waiting to see for G2. They played a lot of Cade Tube and giving problems to Fnatic on actually having to solve other than just shoot G2, right? Because G2, they have a problem on defense where they'll just bleed bodies a lot of the time. They take a lot of gunfights they probably shouldn't have, and they get picked apart. Kind of M80's problems or old M80's problems in a sense. But again, the way G2 play today, that they do the wall denial, they did a lot of Bandit, they did a lot of, like, Mira, Tachanka setups, Alamon Clash setups. They played as a fucking team and as a unit, and even after, when they got the win, it was asked about to Alamo, and Alamo even said, like, today was pure, like, strategic. We wanted to show that side. And for me, like, that cemented them going into this event. Like, I would be so shocked if they didn't make Salt Lake City. I'll stop streaming. I don't even know. Like, I would be so fucking shocked if G2 did not make Salt Lake City. And for me, I only think it's a matter of time. I know people don't want to hear it because Stompin's got a lot of fans, a lot of haters. G2 does, but, like, it's a matter of time because the sky's the absolute limit with this team.
No, I'm on the same mindset as you. And I mean, if you just look at the top rated players, by the way, if you look at, in, like, the top 15, half of it are G2 Falcons and VP. So that again just speaks to how dominant they've been, how good these players have been. And G2's always been an interesting one. You know, I'm very glad that this current, like, renaissance that they're undergoing is so widely beloved because, again, I don't like teams, I don't like orgs stuff. G2 as an organization is in my eyes, like, they're in the bedrock of Rainbow Six, right? Like, their history was that Penta team. They came in, they picked up the G2, they picked up that Penta roster. They immediately had Moxie, they immediately had swag. The social media of G2 was very in your face, you know, very almost like pretentious, and they were a villain, and they embraced it. And they did a lot of really terrific content work for their team, for our esport. I don't think Rainbow Six Esports achieves the high that it's currently at without G2 as an org putting in serious amounts of work. And I think that when G2 doesn't do well, we are all worse off for it. To have a player like Stompin, who very easily could have been a bust, as we've seen other like highly touted content creators and rookies come in and not do super great. To see him doing well, excellent. To see Shaiiko now coming over to this team, and I wouldn't say he's doing better than he did on Falcons, but he certainly seems more comfortable. And that's terrific. Alimao has kind of set aside his ego a little bit. He came and he talked about it quite extensively on last week's show. And again, if you're listening to this and you didn't watch the Alimao episode, you absolutely should go back and watch that when you're done with this one. It seems like the team has kind of found their identity and now kind of settled into where they are. And I really like it. And I honestly think this G2 team is very scary. I think they're going to continue to improve. I know that this is not a hot take here. And I honestly have to wonder too, where is their ceiling? How high is it? Because this team has on paper all the tools to do really, really well. They just need one more. They just need one more best of three. One more best of three.
One more.
Absolutely.
And they make it. Anything more for EML, or do we want to jet on over to our region and talk about North America? Perfect. So
I'm ready to upgrade.
Oh, in all reality, I am sad to say I do think EU is number 2 right now.
Oh,
But,
no.
yeah.
Come on,
I'm sorry.
Fett.
I'm
Come
sorry.
on.
I can't be that
What's
delusional these
happening?
days. I'm sorry. You know what? Yeah, fuck Europe. Piece of shit region. Are we
I
fucking
agree.
for real?
I agree with you, by the way, before
Yeah.
anyone comes at me. But let me live in my NAL. Like, it's fun to rage
Delusion.
bait.
Yeah.
Yeah, delusion. Yeah.
as we wrap up this conversation about EML, whether you like Europe or whether you prefer one of the other regions, do you agree with us or disagree with us when it comes to your rating of these teams? I'm sure many of you that watch the show also regularly tune in to EML. It is, I think it's the most singular watched region. I do think the time zone has to play a big part of that, but obviously EML is very exciting. Do you, the viewer, you here, the DBN knower, because you are all knowers, what's your rating on EML? Do you think they're the real deal? Do you think that they are the competitive region? Or do you still think SAL is the best and maybe NAL is a little bit ahead? Sound off in the comments. But let's move over to the NAL. North American League is a little bit farther behind when it comes to timing. We've only played 3 play days so far. By the time you watch this, play day number 4 will be in the books. Now, because we record usually about 36 hours before the episode comes out so that we can do editing and get everything else done, you're going to have the results of play day number 4, and we'll show the group results so far. We'll put them up there. 3 play days are in the books. You got play day 4 and 5 to come. If you're watching this, it's very likely that play day 5 is just a couple hours away, and then we will have a better idea of which teams actually make it into the playoff brackets. I'm going to open once again the floor to you folks because I have my opinions. I casted some of NA League. I've watched every single play day so far. I want to know what you two think of North America. Mint, you said that the transfer period for EML made a lot of goddamn sense. Can you say the same about NA? Do you think the new acquisitions to these teams work well, or do you think there's a bit of weakness in the lower ranks of the North America League?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, I think again, some of the roster moves in NA were made also because of money. Some orgs needed to
Yes.
maybe dump the salary.
Well,
cap on
EU
some,
too.
so.
Let's
Yeah.
not kid ourselves.
Well,
EU
unless
too.
you're Jume, right? You
Sure.
upgraded.
Sure.
that
Yeah.
guy might have been the only player to upgrade his salary, which is insane. But no, I mean, NAL is it's an interesting one. Dark Zero is the only team that they're not the only team that's winless, but they're already locked in. They're the only team that's locked in, I believe, at this point. But they've kind of played some burgers, I would say, in Group B, who's been a very interesting, very fucking interesting group. I haven't really seen them go against anyone good, so like Dark Zero for me is up in the air because those roster moves didn't make sense to me and still don't make sense to me, and I'm hate watching. I'm sorry, DZ fans. I'm kind of hate watching. 4 support players, only 1 actual entry, newers.
You have a DZ logo in your camera shot, for crying out loud. Like,
no, we're cropped. Don't call that out.
Cropped,
Parker.
it's cropped
We're
for this show. But is it not visible for your
We're
stream?
cropped. maybe my time at DZ didn't end well. So take my take my input with a grain of salt that I'm hate watching these guys. Not hate watching the guys. First off, the guys on that DZ are great, but the organization. Anyway, so this week's actually really entertaining for me because Wildcard and DZ play. Finally, DZ's not going to play on Lair, and it's like, finally DZ has some competition. We can actually see how good they are. But besides that, it's interesting because Shopify is the only team that didn't make any changes, and they have been seemingly struggling. Yes, they have won both their matches, but in overtime, and they had to come back in both those matches. If you remember, the 1 of 30 Packers team really only lost because Clash got TK'd. Otherwise, I don't think Ambi does not clutch that 1v4.
That Mike W team kill would haunt me forever, especially if they don't make SLC. That was something else.
100 Thieves, match point, 6-3, 6-4, whatever it was on Chalet. Shopify on Chalet, just big question mark for me. So they're an interesting team. I feel like they've been kind of testing their map pool a little bit, I would say. So Shopify fans hang in there for the Copium. I do think they're testing their map pool and getting some reps on some maps that maybe they're going to decide to play later on in playoffs. But honestly, NAL's it's been very competitive outside of Cloud9 and Outlast, the only teams with 0 points. Outside of that, I feel like NAL is almost completely shaken up. M80 is not the dominant team we've thought. They've lost to JJ. Mr. JJ Blast, who's currently undefeated and has a chance this week to lock in the first seed and be 1 game away from Salt Lake City, 1 game away from air thrusting on Utah soil.
He's not allowed to do that anymore, by the way. He got in trouble for it. I messaged him about, because I'm already looking ahead at like the Super Show once everybody's all locked in, because I want to get a rep on for everybody here to join us. I messaged JJ and I was like, you can bring your humping to DBNO? And he's like, it's the only place I can do it. He's like, I can't do it on camera anymore. They'll fine me.
He's allowed.
And I was like, he's like, I'll eat the fine. And I was like, they fined Alamal like over $5,000 when he vaped on camera. And JJ's like, I will not eat the fine.
I love JJ. I love the 5 Fears team too. I actually think I'm gonna let you guys speak before we actually speak about some of the matchups. But NAL has been, the roster changes they're interesting. I think some teams have upgraded. I do think M80 in the long run has upgraded with the Ashen pickup, by the way, before we talk about that. They're struggling right now. We'll talk about that, but I think with the Ashen pickup in the long run is an upgrade. Wildcard with Adrian, I think, is an upgrade as well. They've looked very, very good with Adrian. He's even performing really well. Space Station team's interesting. I want a quick touch on that with Raid Bullies. Dream is the perfect person to lead a bunch of console crossovers. He's the glue piece, and they have, basically like masterclass. They take down Wildcard, and they've also taken down, I don't know, one of the other burger teams. Cloud9. Thank you, Cloud9. I'm of course me. Why would I love Dream and Space Station Gaming? I think they're here to stay. Their attacks have been very, very impressive. I hope they show up in the playoffs. I think a lot of people had them last place in this group, which is crazy. So I actually like some of their changes. But yeah, before we talk about the rest of the week, because this week is actually very important for NAL, and I would love to talk about that. But I'll give you guys the floor on some of the roster.
Yeah, I think the anticipated winners on paper going into this stage for me were absolutely Dark Zero and Wildcard. I think there's no world where getting callout just isn't a win. Getting callout's like the equivalent of getting Canadian, where you just know you're making every single event no matter what, essentially, right? As a coach, because he has basically clinched out every single event, whether it be LCQ or the last possible spot or a lower bracket run. That roster with callout has just never missed an event. And I think that's just a win for DZ's organization. And then Wildcard getting Adrian. Wow. Disgusting support player. Again, a very disrespected player because he just doesn't win a popularity contest. But at the end of the day, he was their highest rated MVP player when they won EWC, right? So he's fucking nuts, and he's deservedly nuts. Shopify, again, double OTs. I think that's just a trick of the trade of the Canadian system, but that does kind of give you worries on how much they did improve during the offseason. But I do respect keeping the roster together. And then one of the unexpected winners, I think, that has shown themselves through is Space Station Gaming. Surprisingly, you could say this is the most Jinxieverse team in Pro League, because now they have 2 Jinxieverse players as opposed to 1 Jinxieverse player on G2. So technically, if you're a console fan, Space Station's more Jinxieverse than G2. That being said, Aiden and Raid Bullies have been playing out of their fucking mind, impact-wise and frag-wise in either of the games, putting away a lot of the doubts on either of these players. Really good. 5 years, again, really surprises with Forest being introduced in the system. And who would have thought? I mean, he's an agent of chaos. He's an absolute insane agent of chaos. He brought the same X factor to Astralis, to OXG, and now to 5 years. And there was one push they did against M80 that was just so impressive on Kitchen, where they flipped the push back and forth like 17,000 times, and M80 were just stunned. Like, they literally had 2 shields, and they were like literally flying around the map. They would pressure one part, get a pick, fly around the map, go other, up 90, fly around the map, go around, go infirmary. Like, it was fucking nuts. M80 is a 50-50 roster move for me because, like Mint said, down the long run, it seems like shields are going away. And so getting rid of your shield specialist right now is a big question mark. But Ashen is a do-it-all player. Now, down the long run, when they introduced the anti-shield operator, they teased at SI, and when they eventually, and I mean, hopefully, a lot of people are crying for it, nerf shields more and more, then this seems like a win roster move-wise. But the biggest concern with M80 for me so far, even though they've already had 2 games, is, well, one, the position they're in, right? They played the 2 quote-unquote lower expected teams in their group, and they did not come away with 2 easy wins. They came away with only 1. Now they're going into a backs against the wall, nothing to lose, 100 Thieves, and SR, which is an unchanged roster, in order to make the major. And for me, both these games are must-win, honestly. Like, you have to win, honestly, both. So this is a little bit scary, and the main philosophical issue I see is still kind of there, where it seems like M80 is a team that, for some reason, I don't know what it is, they love perfection so much. Like, it seems like if things don't go to their plan, they just kind of fall apart, sit in their spots, and die one by one, right? Like, that's how, and then they, like, it seems like they have to, like, lose so much off of this in an insanely disappointing manner before getting back to a form where they accept scrappy siege, they accept close games, they accept clutching to win, and they use that to propel themselves forward. But right now, it looks like they're still in that state of, if the game plan is not going fucking perfectly, we are just going to shut down, and we're going to look like we all shut down. And I don't know why, like, they do that, but I don't like that. Because, you know, I'm number 1 fan of that. And then Cloud9, unimpressive, sorry. 100 Thieves, surprisingly unimpressive, but it seems like they reflect more of OXG than they do of Xset, you know, and I think that was the biggest question. Like, is this roster going to be OXG, or is it going to be Xset? Because Xset always wanted to get Pampa. That was their dream roster move. And now that they have Pampa, they're 0-3, but there's a world where if M&E shit the bed next week, they still make the major. 1 of 30, sad days, Outlast, sad days. That's really it. Big fan of them, though. Like, good job making Pro League and shit. Yeah.
I've been really enjoying what we've seen out of these new rosters. The big surprise for me has been SSG, frankly. And you know what? I understand that Dream is your friend. And I get that. And I want him to do well. I like Dream a lot. I think he's an awesome dude. I think he was great when he came on this show. I think he's a terrific player. But I looked at this SSG roster and I was like, they're unproven. They have the potential to be really, really bad. And then they were the opposite. And it's like, Aiden looks great. Raid looks great. The support system there is really, really good. It is hard to be a team that is in the shadows of, honestly, what you could argue is one of the most successful North American organizations of all time. And then suddenly you've got a bunch of people who are unproven, being led by a guy, Dream, who I love him, but he's not a world champion. He's only been to a couple lands. Like, to give like that guy the keys to the castle and then see some newer players come in, I think you're perfectly within your right to be like, I don't know if this team is going to be very good. And I'm so glad that he's silenced not only me, but everybody else too. And to that point, Aiden is the 2nd highest rated player in the NA league right now. Now, granted, the Thursday game is going to be played before this comes out. So maybe Aiden absolutely shits the bed tomorrow. Who knows? Why are you putting up 3?
The 3rd highest rated player, unless you're going by EPS and I'm going by CGG rating, because I don't have access.
Yes, I'm going by EPS.
Yeah. God damn it.
Who do they have as 2nd?
It's J9 Kyno right now for CGG. I don't know what the hell it is for Rainbow Six.
The internal site that we use, which is not CGG, but the internal site that we use for casting, J90 is the number 1 highest rated player at the moment. Old Jack. Yeah. And then it's Aiden, then it's Gavin, then it's Ambi, then it's Kyno. Gunner, Kansan is 7th, Snake, Fens, and JJ round out the top 10. That's JJ Blast, 10th highest EPS in the NAL, for crying out loud. JJ Ballsack. Give us claps for JJ Ballsack. Some air thrusts for him. And
Yeah.
Mike W in his debut, by the way, is 12th for those that are curious too. Mike's having a pretty good go of it. But I think somebody on Reddit actually said this really, really well. And I'm going to shamelessly steal from a Redditor here. I don't know which Redditor it was, and I apologize in advance. But if you said this, take credit for it, do a victory lap. You've also read it. You've been doing an amazing job of clipping parts of the show and putting it on the R6 Pro League subreddit. Huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate it immensely. And frankly, it makes Fett's content a lot easier. So anyway, the thing that I want to talk about is with this SSG squad, and it was said by this Redditor, is like, finally, there are entries who aren't afraid to entry in NA. This was talked about very briefly. I think you said it, Fett, just a couple minutes ago when you said, like that there are some teams that have entries that aren't necessarily normal entries. We talked a little bit about Newers. If he's your main entry, what does that speak to for the team? When you looked at the old DZ squad, when you had guys like NJR and Hyper and Pambazoo, people were like, you got 3 great fraggers, but none of them really love entering on their own. Now this SSG team is playing fearlessly. They are a lot of fun to watch. I know you're a DZ hater, Kyle, but I got to say, I'm really liking this new DZ look. I think the team is doing very, very well. I am such a shameless J90 fan. He might be my favorite player in North America. Sorry, Troy. But I like J90 so much. I met his parents at Boston. They're equally lovely. Great guy. I'm so glad to see he's doing well. I actually had both Spoit and Troy over for dinner a couple days ago, and we talked a little bit about the team. Nothing really that I can or can't share on here, but basically it was just Ambi is now making a lot of calls on defense. The team is still sorting through that. They're kind of changing their identity a little bit and trying to find how they fit into the meta. They were happy with their performances, but they think they can do an awful lot better. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say, given that, they won an OT. These are still grinder games that they're playing. So when I look at NA, I'm like, I actually think that this is a very competitive region. Yeah, the bad right now in NA is kind of bad. And we saw that when Cruelty was in the league. We saw that when LFO Orglis was in the league. But I honestly think all of these, these top 8 teams, I think honestly are all perfectly capable of going to LAN. I don't know if that means they'll do well. I still think there's the top 3 of DZ, SSG and M80, or sorry, top 4 of DZ, SSG, SR, and M80. But anything can happen. The biggest surprise for me has been 100 Thieves. And just very, very briefly, I will say, one of you said, and I forget which one it was, said it's more OXG than XSET. And I think that is such a devastating insult. And I don't think you meant it that way. But I had kind of the same thought where I was like, I hope the worst parts of OXG don't make it onto this roster. And right now, it kind of looks like that's the case. But again, they're also trying to find their identity. NJR and Spirits are still trying to settle in. Spirits is still trying to find his own identity, changed roles. He's now leading a team. That's a tough thing to do. I think 100 Thieves have a lot of potential to be like a top 5 team, but I don't know how much higher their ceiling is.
Yeah. I want to catch you on one thing. When you say the top 4 of DZ, SSG, SR, and AD, did you leave out, did you consider Wildcard within that, and then you were like, no?
Hello?
So we said this on the Wildcard episode. Wildcard have been the perennial 5th best interregional team in NA, but then they are the 2nd best international team after M80. So this is a distinction that I think has enough of a difference here, where it's Wildcard, in my eyes, are one of NA's best teams internationally. But Wildcard domestically have struggled, and Spiker admitted that himself, and he talked quite a bit about it when he was on this show. They're still trying to find their identity. Spiker's playing operators that he's not used to playing. Adrian is still adjusting to the system. And it's competitive. All of these teams in NA look pretty good at the top. So Wildcard could very well find themselves being the 5th best team, but they squeak their way into making it to the event. And who knows, maybe they make another top 4 at Salt Lake City. I think they definitely could. The problem with Wildcard has always been how they play against their regional representatives. And they've consistently been a 5th and 6th place team in NA. And right now, granted, it's been 3 play days, but right now it looks like they're probably going to be in that same boat, which is bad because then it means they miss SLC. But they're still adapting. Everybody's still adapting. But I think Wildcard has a lot more adapting to do than they probably thought.
I see. Yeah.
Am I insane? Do you disagree? You're welcome to disagree.
Oh, for me, I still going into the stage, my top 4 was in no particular order: SR, MAD, DZ, Wildcard. Just because SSG was that C9 roster, but you might be right at this point, right? SSG look really fucking good. I have no idea at this point. The thing on 100 Thieves with them being more OXG than Exit, yes, it is a bit of an insult because of the difference in placements in the two, but I say that in terms of like the problems that I see that they have. They look more like they're playing that OXG style because, you know, they have the coach from OXG, and they look like they have the same OXG problems when Yaga is put at the helm as that IGL. Another really breakout player I really wanted to touch on. And for rankings right now, I have no idea, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to curse them maybe because I like literally just praying to God that they make this first major. But one of the breakout players I really wanted to touch on was Kyno. Kyno has been lights out for DZ, and I think part of that why is because a lot of the concern around DZ is their pace, right? It's like, who the fuck is their entry? It's Newers, but he's not even a true entry. Fultz played entry 6 years ago when he was entering for Canadian, right? And it's like Jack played entry when he was in T3, but now he's a mailbox. They have double mailbox gods, NJR and Jack. So who the fuck entries? Well, it's Kyno. Kyno is the fastest player on the team by far, and he's not only breaking the rounds open, he is just demolishing the enemy team. And one can only hope, because at this point there seems to kind of be a pattern where the shield player from the BCM80 core goes over to a different team, which coincidentally happens to also be DZ this time, same org, does really well off rip, but kind of loses their footing throughout the year. And you can only just hope that it's not the same pattern here, and hopefully the better system with call out at the helm will allow Kyno to continue performing because it's really hardening to see that. Like, I think Kyno and Spirits kind of found themselves kind of at the back end of, you know, the BCM80 talks. Usually when it's brought up, they were inconsistent performing players, and, you know, like personality wise, there's a lot of strong personalities on the team and they seem to never fit in fully. Right. And it was very happy for me to see them win, and also happy to see them go on different teams and shine, because people don't see that. Like Blaz going from off of G2 and immediately dominating for shifters. It's like, that shows that there's levels to this shit. You just might not have space to show your levels in a team surrounded by so much talent. But then, with that being the case, is that a moment of concern? We have no fucking idea. Either way, just happy that he's, I almost said a really bad word, but railing people.
Then you say
I almost said an M word.
Mogging?
Yeah. No.
Mogging?
You could say mog.
He is mogging people. Oh, also angle grip extended barrel. That's the meta. If you're not on it, you're a bum.
So I will, before I let Mint jump in here, I want to ask you one question. There's been accusations already that Kyno is abusing shields to get to the point that he's at. And by far and away, his 3 most played operators are Blackbeard, Blitz, and Monty. If shields are on their way out, and if what Ubisoft teased at SI is correct, and there is a new direct shield counter coming to the game, what does that mean for Kyno, and does that force DZ into a position where they might need to adapt to a different attacking meta, maybe sooner rather than later?
I think that, excuse me, burp's coming. Sorry.
Give a burp for the audience.
It already came out.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I got nothing left.
Sorry, audience.
I think that it will require one more overall shield nerf for shields to go out of meta after the shield operator is released, the anti-shield operator is released. Because think about it, if you want to spam shields, you just ban Clash anti-shield operator, and then boom, you just run shields. You know, so I think in order for shields to fully go out of meta, you need to introduce one more nerf, and then they will go out of meta. So I think he'll be fine, considering the changes. That being said, if they got another nerf, I do think it would also be a little bit concerning, because right now he's, you know, innovating with the Blackbeard attachments and just kind of demolishing people with how much damage he's doing with Blackbeard's gun on the attachments he's on, and the perfection of the play on that operator. That being said, I think the people crying that teams are cringe for abusing shields piss me off. I think the people that I crashed out, Parker, the other day because someone released a top 10 list for SI and Woogie Man's at number 1, and people were like,
what list is Woogie Man topping?
He is the number 1 rated player at SI.
According to who?
According to CGG and EPS by the end of groups.
Yeah. Didn't CGG have like Cyber in like 7th or something as well?
But that's a subjective list. Rating wise, he's number 1 in SI, for rating. And you can check. Can you check the EPS for him right now on your little fancy website? Because he was at the end of groups
little.
#1 EPS. Sorry, the amazing website. Shout out. Can I shout out the creator of the website?
It's very average.
Desichu? I think Des is the brainchild behind this. Yeah, I despise giving Derry any accolades or kudos whatsoever. But I hate to break it to you, Woogie Man has the highest DPS.
Yes. So this made me crash out in a multitude of ways, and I'm so sorry to take from your time here, man. This is a complete off tangent. I need to crash out. Because so many people were in the comments like, "Where's Spoit?" And then people like, "Where's Spoit? Where's Spoit? How come Stompin' isn't higher? This list is shit. Stompin' should be much higher." And this is just one of those things where it's embarrassing the little knowledge that the average R6 esport fan has. That is a calculated rating. No one made that fucking list. You moron. You imbecile. Secondly, this should show you that rating means nothing in the broader context of your impact in the game. Thirdly, yeah, people play shields. It's the fucking meta. It's the best thing in the game. People are gonna play the best thing in the game to play for $1 million. But no one knows shit about our game. It's all a popularity contest. That's why people have no idea who Noah is in the top 5 list. And they're like, who's Noah? Spoit's better than Noah. And it's embarrassing because you ask the average homeless person off the street who has never touched a soccer ball in his life who the greatest soccer player of all time is, and he'll give you a reasonable answer. That is either Messi or Ronaldo 90% of the time. And that is a reasonable answer because they've accomplished a shit ton of things, because they've contributed a lot to these contributions, and people have a basic understanding of what things matter. In Siege, it's all a popularity contest, and people don't have any sort of IQ or brain after that. People have no IQ or brain on any of the meta, or how anything works, or how any roles work. They look at KD every game, drop the people with the lowest kills. They have the attention span of one's game's worth of game, and if someone does bad in that game, that player is washed for eternity and they fucking blow. And what happened to them? I thought they were good in a group stage game. Why do they suck? Wow, they're so bad. Drop this player. Now, to be fair, I tried to watch a game that way where I said everyone that was dying was selling and everyone was getting the kills was amazing, and that they should drop the players with the lowest scores. And honest to God, it was quite fun. There was a bit of dopamine in that. So I do kind of understand the moronic mentality. But sorry, I needed to crash out on the general, broader, casual Siege audience. Go check a Wikipedia. Go look at a website. Go watch a game. Go watch a game. God, you piss me off.
Go watch game. You picked a great time to come back.
Yes. Dude, the same people saying this shit to me are the same people seriously asking me whether Fabian was dropped. These same people, by the way. TS
Kyle, go quick. Kyle, go quick. That's your opening. Go.
Yes, that's your opening.
You're going to miss it. You're going to miss your opening.
I have an opening?
You have an opening.
How do I follow that? I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. DZ. One, I agree with you, Fett. People have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. But hey, that's why I'm able to stream. That's why we're able to stream. That's why we're able to give them the ball knowledge while we're watching Pro League. So, come check us out. Anyway, number two. Let's talk DZ for just a second. Can I get off my high horse about my DZ hating for just a second here?
You may. I'll allow it.
I'm allowed? Okay.
I'll allow it.
All right. Look, players on the DZ team have been very impressive. Okay. Kyno has been very impressive. 7-0 on the entry. We're saying he needs shields. Fett is absolutely right. As a resident shield abuser myself, Kyno does not need shields.
You were playing shields when half these players were in diapers.
True, but this ain't about me. This is
That's
about
fucked
Kyno.
up, man.
Fett was in diapers. What's Kyno's most annoying operator that was banned on him almost every single game against M80? Glass. Okay? He could play much more than shields. In fact, Kyno on shields used to be a meme back in the day. Kyno on shields? He's trolling. What's he doing on Montane? What's he doing on Blitz? He's gonna troll.
Ask Pengu when we used to cast him. It was like when I saw Forrest on Fuse Shield, Pengu would see Kyno on Monty, and I think he would have a brain aneurysm himself.
Fett just posted my Wikipedia when I was born and said,
yeah,
"Oh shit!"
You might have been playing Pro League when I was in my first year of high school.
The funniest part is I'm 3 years older than Mint.
Yeah, Fett, how old do you think Parker was?
I turned 36 in like 3 months.
I might have been in middle school when you casted your first pro game.
People, I opened my YouTube videos with like I was a major winning coach, but like I played pro, but people don't fucking know that 'cause no one was around. No one was around,
Dude. Oh my, no, min. So reverse. He had .f3 in his name as a fan thing. He played against Raid Bullies, current pro player Raid Bullies, and Raid Bullies goes, man, .f3 must be a really good team. They don't know. They don't know anymore. They don't know. They have no idea what Flipside is anymore. And then we stacked with them after. I was like, you don't know who like Flipside is? And he was like, no. Who's Flipside? It's like, you don't continue him? No. Who's continuing? I'm like, oh no.
Right there,
Got him gaming, bro.
Right there's the jersey.
Look, if I know one thing about Flipside, it's that they love paying out their players on time. You know?
Oh yeah, we love getting paid in G Fuel. Alabama made me feel better. Alabama made me feel better though, because he said they were rocking the F3 charm. Big fan, and I was like,
they were.
Someone that knows ball. Someone that knows ball. Anyway, what was I talking about? DZ hate. Let me get back on that. Kyno, great player. He's performing. No, he actually is performing really good. The thing with DZ, where I'm starting to come around on, and like, don't tell this to like co-streamer Mint though, because like I'm gonna keep my hate on my stream. But like this current DZ, I think is going to be a very good defensive team. Because of their support players, because they don't have like someone super mega aggressive, like they actually just play like really tight, good, fundamental fucking siege. So I've been very impressed with their defenses. They might be the best defensive team in the NAL. I don't know what the stats say on that. And then on the attack side, on the attack side though,
stat monkey over here. Okay,
hey stat guy, we need help.
Jesse J.
Stat guy. No, I'm fucking Jesse J. Chick over here.
But on the attack side, though, you don't really need an entry. And Wildcard's kind of proven that. Wildcard is technically the most consistent NA team internationally, and they don't have a true entry. Bay's an entry. He's passive. They don't have a true entry. It was Dash on the shields, ADSing most of the time, right? Yes. Now they have Kyno, who's actually probably better at the moment and really, really clutch because they have all these support players. They have a lot of clutch players as well. Jack is one of the most clutch players in North America. Nick is one of the most clutch players in North America. Kyno is probably the most, in the past year, his resurgence on M80 has to be the most improved player in the NAL, and it's continuing on the DZ team. So they have Newer's an extremely clutch fucking player. Who's the one player I didn't fucking mention?
Bolts.
Clutch player. Captain IGL, but no, like,
by the way, so best attacking rate right now in kickoff is
best defending rate in NAL.
Best defending rate is Dark Zero.
Oh, man, you're so smart, man. You're so smart, man.
DZ wins 77% of their defenses. M80 is not far behind at 70%, and then third place is Shopify Rebellion at 60%. Attacking, 75% of the attacking rounds they've played, Wildcard has won, and then it's Space Station, 5 Fears, and Dark Zero with Shopify Rebellion in the top 5.
There it is. Do you have map stats to tell me the most defender-sided?
Yeah, what do you want to know?
What's the most defender side? Is it going to be the
most defender sided map?
Yeah.
So it's Cafe, but Cafe was only played once. If you omit that as an outlier, it's Lair at 61%.
Okay. Well,
did DZ play
it
3 times?
DZ played it.
Has been played 1 time, and it was 10 rounds. 7 of them were won by the defenders, so 70%.
DZ played it 3 times. 3 times.
I guess I would have been curious. SI.
What Lair wait, was. DZ might be for Lair crutch 3 times.
I mean, the beauty of the internet is that I can go tell you what happened at SI.
Yeah. Ooh. Just to back up because Lair is not a defender-sided map. It is actually more even, and most of the top pro teams think it is actually an attacker-sided map. So
Lair was middle of the pack alongside Nighthaven, I think.
Yeah,
you are literally spot on. So Border was the only attacker-sided map at SI, and it was literally 50.6. So barely attacker-sided.
Yeah.
Fortress was the most defender-sided. 63% of all the rounds were won by the defenders. Nighthaven Labs smack in the middle. Lair is a little bit more attacker-sided, but barely. Lair is 52.8% for the defenders.
Barely. So dead even,
Barely.
and DZ
It's-
at 77% this season. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
70, 76 or whatever it is. Yeah.
So I've come around. Like I see them as a very good defensive team. And attack, again, they're following the Wildcard method. And you just said Wildcard's the best attacking team right now.
Yep.
This makes a lot of sense. It actually makes a lot of sense. And don't tell co-streamer Mint that I'm coming around on the DZ roster. But the DZ roster makes a lot of sense. My only question mark, and just to play devil's advocate for a second, what's the difference between the Wildcard team and the DZ team if they're kind of copying that playstyle? It's Lagonis versus Callout. And in my opinion, right now, just to throw it in Fett's face, Lagonis is the GOAT. A greater than Callout. Look at the international success Lagoatness has been having with the Wildcard team. Let's see what Callout's been doing That's the question mark. I know he's a great coach. I have nothing but respect for Callout. There's barely any coaches I even have respect for. Callout makes that fucking list. I respect him so much. But what's his grand finals? What's his grand finals record? 0-1? 0-1 versus this guy? Versus this guy at Charlotte? What's his international success? SSG was NA Farmers this entire last year. They don't have success against anybody internationally. So that's the question mark for this DZ roster. I think they're going to make Salt Lake City, but can they fucking do something? Let's find out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on Lagonis. I had him as my number one coach of last year. I was the most impressed with his work as timeouts and how much he propelled that wildcard roster. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, also for the Fett haters out there, I do want to let you know the deathmatch Q button is calling to my name like a Green Goblin mask right now. I want to let you know right now. I'm literally gripping my pants right now, holding myself back from the stim.
You want to just stim? Okay, well,
no.
We're losing Fett. That was great.
I would never stim. I would never stim. No. I'm disappointed.
Careful.
This episode.
Drip's firing up another video right now. Just Yardy's got the, oh my God, he's stimming again.
People don't understand that I do better when I do that shit. Like this episode, I'm like not stimming and I'm like losing track of what the fuck is going on.
It is a friend of mine explained this to me. He works in psychology with people that are neurodivergent, and quite literally for people with ADD, stimming makes you put more effort into the other stuff you're doing because it like recenters you. I'm reasonably certain I have some type of ADD, like ADD or I don't think I have ADHD, but it's like there are times where Ubisoft and Blast, if you're watching, maybe mute for the next like 2 minutes. There have definitely been times where there's just like a match with teams I don't really know that are like, it's not a particularly good match. And sometimes I feel like I'm less invested. And sometimes maybe I'll go on Twitter on my phone between rounds or something just very quickly just to stim to get myself back in it. And I think it does present a better product. And I know lots of other people are like that. Sadokist, a legendary CS caster who's had a fair share of issues on his end, of course. He would talk about this quite often, saying that he was very ADD and that being on his phone and checking things like on his laptop while he was casting actually allowed him to recenter himself and do a better job when he did get back into the action. It's not without its trade-offs because sometimes you miss things, sometimes you're not actively listening. I know there have been times where I'm like looking up stats and Jesse will say something and then I'll be like, Jesse, did you know that this team, and I will just regurgitate exactly what Jesse said, but I wasn't paying attention because I was looking up, if Lair is a defender-sided map for some people. And it's like sometimes you miss that kind of stuff. So, just cut Fett some slack. I would rather have Fett on here for just a couple minutes an episode, even if he is stimming, than not having Fett at all. So,
nice
fuck off if you disagree. So
you're so nice to me.
It's just the truth, man. Like this is we're just like people take it's a podcast. And granted, we're on Last Free Nation and we have ad sponsors and we get paid. And it's like it's a real business. But at the end of the day, it's a podcast about video games. We're not saving fucking lives here. If he wants to play T-Hunt while we talk about shit, get off his ass. Like, let him do it. It's all fun and games.
Yeah. On that
You
note,
can make content about that.
On that note, I have nothing else for NA. I will say 1 of 30 was expected, but I did have high hopes for the Outlast roster because that was their first time running through T2, and if it's the first time running through T2, maybe they'll surprise the first time running through T1 with just nerves of steel. But unfortunately, it looks like the tier 1 difference did shock them a little bit. And then again, for 1 of 30, things are looking good if MAD do shit the bed, which it seems like a yearly occurrence now that they'll miss an event just for the fun of it, just to get called frauds and then let that like fire like burn from them being called frauds, and then they'll go back and win another event. So I hope they make it, but like fuck man, like C9 BC heartbreaking. Yeah, that.
Kyle, I want to talk just a little bit about the first day of the NAL broadcast because it did get posted quite a bit on Twitter and Reddit, and I do think it's worth addressing. So I'll give you final thoughts here just on like, if you've said everything you have to say, I'll gladly take it. I just want to give you closing thoughts in case you have anything that you didn't say about any of the teams or anything to add about NA moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's how important this week is. Fett touched on it, but there's a very likely world that M80 gets grouped here. If M80 loses to 100 Thieves on Thursday, the episode's out on Friday, so you guys will know. But if they lose to 100 Thieves on Thursday, they now have to play SR, and that is a game where they get grouped. Like that's embarrassing. The highest paid team, Marco, everyone's going to be very upset. I'm scared. Like, I don't even want to be a fly on the wall in that room if they were to somehow get grouped, because that's going to be some scary talk.
Well, highest median paid team, because if you go highest mean paid team and highest total paid team, you're wrong, actually.
Actually, you got me there.
Maybe we should have brought him back. Maybe we should not have brought him back on the show. Maybe we made a mistake.
No, this is good. This is good. He's firing me up. So big matches there. SR versus 5 years, like we said. I think JJ.
That will be a good game, because if you remember, that was the Envy versus SR game to start stage 1, stage 2 last year. That was an incredible game, if you recall. JJ pushed that team into overtime, and that was with, I would argue, a worse roster. For JJ.
This looks like a mature JJ. I will say, he said he was off social media for about a year, even though he's still hip thrusting. But
well, they tried to take him off Twitch, and he fought back. So
he did fought back. But anyway, he's learned a lot. He's gotten some new coaches over there. Forrest getting out of the team, seems like there's a new maturity to him. He's also playing very fucking well. We noted him as the 8th best player in NAL, which is insane.
I think he's 10th. He's top 10. I think he's 10th.
Okay, top 10.
8th was Snake, 9th was Fens, and 10th was JJ, if memory serves correctly.
We'll give him top 10, but that's insane for an IGL.
That's top 10.
He's putting in a ton of work. I'm loving the play style they are right now. Again, new coaches. They're able to play
fun
very
to watch,
split,
man.
Very split, but they're also have the double shield crankage. Every once in a while, things are going wrong. Forrest's going to hop on a shield. JJ's going to hop on a shield, and they are going to crank, as they like to say.
Yeah.
So very fun team to watch. I actually think they're going to beat Shopify, just hot take. And then literally a battle of relegation match, C9 versus Outlast, both last place teams. Whoever loses that game likely to get grouped. So like NAL this week, it's exciting every week, but it's very, very exciting to see who are teams to make Salt Lake City. I do think my last closing thoughts on NAL really is that I only think right now I trust 2 teams internationally. I don't know if you guys think any differently, which is why I do think EU is ahead of us. I do think G2.
Can I guess them?
Go ahead.
No, finish your thought, but I want to see if I can guess the 2 teams that you're going to say.
I'm done. Speak. You may speak.
I think internationally, I think you trust Wildcard, and I think you trust DZ.
Oh, it's actually a 80. It's actually a 80, actually.
It's actually an 80.
You trust internationally?
Because
yeah, I guess so.
DZ's the
success.
same like
Yeah.
NA owner squad from SSG that would basically bomb out internationally every time.
And it's like
they are the 2
M80
teams
actually
that have
won
been the
it.
best.
Yeah. M80 won an event.
Yeah.
Wildcard's top 4 multiple events. So I actually trust them, where it's like DZ might make Salt Lake City. Are they going to just farm an NA team, or are they going to be different? Shopify, we already know their story international. Is it going to get any better? I don't know. I know they're trying to be a little bit different with Ambi on the defensive IGL and get him a little bit more aggressive, but their attack still put me to sleep. So, yeah, I mean, I really only trust 2 teams. Hopefully some more teams step up, because I want to glaze NA to the end, and I never want to see EU win another event. Unless it's stomping, because the kid's from Texas, and I'll root for him.
And you guys will feast on the stomping impressions that come with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, this guy is just so good. Like, I people like always, the glaze is justified for stomping out of the blue, by the way, because I'm watching his clutches on Reddit because I missed his Fnatic game.
The Fortress.
It's like,
yeah.
When Yalamao said, like, there's a way you think a player will play a clutch, and Stompin just blows your, mind out of the water every time. And it's the fact that he does it every time is insane to me. Like it's in a 1v2 or 1v3, and you genuinely feel like it's favored towards the kid because it's just so fucking easy to him. Like his Clash clutch the other day against whoever the fuck. Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm literally scrolling. I'm seeing if the subreddit has any like interesting things to say right now.
The
This is my
subreddit's been doing a pretty
non-dev-
good job. Again,
Yes.
for people who are curious, when we talk about the subreddit, we're talking about reddit.com/r/r6 pro league. If you are, again, I think I said I was going to link it in one of the videos, and then I forgot to give the link to our YouTube editor, so we didn't get it put in. But I think it's important that we get active there. I will usually, like Fett and I both respond to comments on there every now and then. Min, I don't know if you do, but it's like if you post about DBNO on there, I will likely jump in to respond just because I want you to feel like you're being acknowledged here, which is why I say this time and time again. I read all your comments. Yeah, they've been doing a good job of clipping us. They've been doing a good job of clipping stuff from EML. EML tends to get a lot more notice because of the time zones. Like by the time NAL is wrapping up, like half of our viewership is asleep. So there are times where it's like the final match of the day of the NAL won't even get like a post-match thread till the next day. Not great, but it's for fun. Very quickly, I do want to talk about the woes that the first broadcast of the NA League suffered last week, because it was a topic of conversation on both Twitter and on Reddit. For people who don't know, like kind of like the inside info of how this works, Ubisoft and Blast re-upped their contract about a month or two ago for another 3 years. So Blast is going to be running things for another 3 years in conjunction with Ubisoft. Now, the actual partnership is a little bit different. It's more Ubisoft heavy than it was last time. Last time it was more equal between Blast and Ubisoft. Now it's more of a traditional client and TO type relationship. So Blast is going to be doing more of what Ubisoft wants, which I think comes obviously with some pros and obviously with some cons, depending on how you're looking at things. But one of the big Achilles heels that Blast had was that they didn't really have any like footprint in North America. That's why, if people recall, we went to Copenhagen and broadcasted out of the Copenhagen studio for the first like stage of the NA League back in, I think it was 2023. And obviously it's not ideal for North Americans to be casting a North American product in Europe for our sleep schedule. And somebody in the comments in the most recent video was like, talk about Poland again. Well, good news. I'm going to talk about it in this episode too. I had to do that when I was in Poland. I had to get up at 10:30 p.m. to be at the studio for midnight to go live at 2 a.m. to wrap up at 7 a.m. because that was just the timing of it, right? Part of what we had hoped for was that the broadcast would come to North America. Blast didn't have that footprint, so they partnered up with a company called Nerd Street Gaming. People might know Nerd Street. Nerd Street, as far as I'm aware, is like bankrupt now. Like they're gone. Like they're dead. As far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, but their footprint has continually shrunk, and now it's basically gone kaput as far as I'm aware. So NA League has now gone back to Copenhagen. So the Copenhagen production team, which is largely the same people who do all the majors, they're now running EML and NAL out of the same studio. We are all remote for the time being. So because of that, you have a new producer who's handling this. You also have a new patch of the game. So everybody's trying to find their footing and find their rhythm. And unfortunately, there were some tech issues behind the scenes that caused the first day of the NAL kickoff to have some quite lengthy rehosts. And because it was a newer producer, he was still working through some stuff. And because of that, the pauses were a little bit longer than usual. You will notice that as the show went on, the pauses got shorter. And for the most part, the shows since have been great. That is literally just teething issues. They're already gone. I saw some people on the subreddit being like, this always happens in NA. Hey, I'm going to be the first person who bangs the drum and said there's absolutely players who currently play in NA and maybe don't play in NA any longer who called very conveniently timed rehosts. We all saw it. It's very hard to not acknowledge it as a caster. I can promise you that what was happening on that NAL kickoff just a couple days ago or last week, it was not due to players. Forrest's computer like blew up at one point, but that really couldn't be like that. You can't account for that. And he was back in the lobby pretty quickly. I think it was Forrest. I could be wrong again. Forrest, if it wasn't your computer, I apologize. But somebody's computer blew up accidentally. But for the most part, it was just a new producer getting the hang of production. And he's been outstanding since. He was outstanding then too. And he's been great to work with. It's just there were things that happened that he wasn't expecting. This is a tale as old as time with our game. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer. That's it. So I'm glad that people are able to move past it. The production team that we've worked with are great. I love a lot of the Blast guys. My biggest frustration was that all the European casters got to work with the Blast teams that would then come to events, and we would only see them at the events. FURIA and the NA guys were great. I love them too, but it's nice to be working with the Blast team like everybody else. And I think onward and upward moving forward. So that's just, if you're wondering why there were NAL kickoff issues, that's what it was. It had nothing to do with players calling rehosts or kicking modems. It was entirely just like the game kind of being buggy and production just finding their way through a relatively new broadcast, and everything is good now. And it's been great since. So just a little bit of patience. I know that I can get down in the dumps when our game breaks too, because I've been doing this for almost a decade, and it sucks when the same things that befall us 6 years ago happen again. But that's just showbiz, baby, and the show must go on. So with that said, our last region to discuss as we cap off a relatively longer episode, we're going to talk about the South American League on your screen, either now or in just a moment, depending on how quick our reliable producer David is the group results. Now, just like with the North America League, the group stage is still ongoing. We don't have a playoff bracket to show because we don't know what teams are locked in, but there is only a single play day to go, and it will be going live after this show airs. So everything you see on screen involving SAL will be relevant when you watch this episode, of course, unless you watch it back later on. But final play day, play day number 5 of the groups will be on Saturday. I'm just going to go very quickly here. Team Liquid locking in top 3 in Group A. That's the new Team Liquid Alienware roster. That's formerly FURIA minus Herds plus Maya. Group B, Ninjas in Pajamas have locked in a top 3 spot as well. Los, FaZe Clan, and FURIA have all locked in playoff spots. Nobody has been eliminated yet. The 2 new teams that you're probably wondering about are Imperial Esports and INTS. INTS is an org that you've seen for quite some time. They're going to be involved in some very interesting matches coming up, as there is only that single play day. I've been impressed with FURIA. I've been impressed with Team Liquid Alienware. FaZe Clan is impressive as ever. Gentlemen, basic thoughts. I don't know which one of you wants to start, but go ahead. Talk about South America.
I think that Play Day 1 was the only one that I really watched, sadly, that I had time to watch for because things just happened. But I think that the big storyline coming out of Play Day 1, because it's, first of all, in actual competitive terms, Play Day 1 of anything is the one play day that, things will always not happen as expected, because that's the day that everyone gets their jitters out and gets, settled in. Mint knows this. He's competed before. Play Day 1 of anything is usually never the good tell of anything. That being said, the big storyline coming out of Play Day 1 is who won between FURIA and Liquid, right? And it seemed like FURIA won the end of the roster exchange because Liquid struggled. There one different player from the FURIA core previously, Maya, was the one that popped off, but then the rest of them kind of shit the bed, and FURIA won. But now, as everything has evened out, FURIA won a huge fucking game against FaZe, and Liquid won a huge game against FaZe, and that's really, really reassuring if you are a Liquid fan. Now that being said, FURIA also has really surprised me and impressed me by the way they play. Now, they do win, at least from what I saw from that one day, a lot of clutches in order to get their round wins. But that being said, FURIA was one of the big question marks coming into this stage on how good they would be, because they're a complete roster blow-up and reassembly. But honest to God, they look like a consistent top SAL team. They look like a consistent top international team, honestly. And I'm on the brink of I need to watch more games, but I'm on the brink of attributing ring potential to them. Right now, for me, SAL is still just FaZe and Liquid for ring potential, if we're talking about just objective truths. But FURIA is inching onto that territory for me. Diaz, you see why they picked him up, because in NA he had a bit of a reputation as a baiter, but in South America that's just so broken because people just overswing there so much because it's a part of their core game identity. They don't reset. They do reset, but they don't tuck up. Their way of closing rounds is not to tuck up. Their way of closing rounds is, I know you're here still, and I will take this fight with you while you're still here. That's why you see some of the greatest clutches in the world always against FaZe Clan. Jume hitting both those clutches against FaZe. Was FaZe playing absolutely stupid? Yes, but FaZe do that because SAL does that, because it's a Brazilian thing to just swing and swing and swing and stack that pressure on, and in the game of probabilities in the long run, they'll win over you, but you'll hit crazy clutches on them. That being said, having Diaz, sadly, I mean, okay, not sadly, like unfortunately in NA called a baiter. In Brazil, he's a fucking world eater, right? He just stacks stats on stats on stats on stats. Boki's there, looks like he fits right in like a glove. They look really, really good. Another really interesting thing I wanted to touch upon for South America is that you mentioned earlier that you don't really follow around orgs, you follow around players as a fan. And I completely agree with that. Like I follow around from Beast Coast to M80 because those are my boys and I love them. And that's how I view the game. And if your favorite player, if someone went somewhere else, people would flock to that new team. In Brazil, actually, their loyalty is much more like traditional sports where their loyalty lies within the club. So it's actually Liquid fans rejoicing that they got the FURIA core as opposed to FURIA fans migrating over. And this is a very interesting conversation I had with one of the people in my chat who's a Brazilian fan, and he said, "No, I'm still a FURIA fan. Like I didn't migrate over to Liquid. If they played each other, I would root for FURIA, even though 4/5 of my team left and the coach left." And I think it's such an interesting cultural difference because that's what you see in traditional sports, right? Is that your allegiance, at least in football or soccer, your allegiance typically aligns with a club. Right, and if your player goes somewhere else, you still root for the player. But if the two teams played each other, you probably would root for the club. At least for the most part, that's what I get the impression of. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was really interesting from a fan's perspective, in Brazil to hear that. And I want to know what you guys think about that.
I just talked a shitload. You're welcome to jump in here. I mean, I obviously have thoughts about the passion of Brazilian players and teams. I've dealt with it a few times.
No, I mean, I'm trying to think because I come from DZ and I know in NA at least, like DZ has loyal fans that are still there, even though it's a completely different DZ. Like almost all the DZ fans are just like DZ fans, which is kind of insane to me because I'm in the same boat. Fett, I mean, it's a lot like me watching like sorry for the respect for soccer right there.
Soccer.
I mean, it's like me watching like football or basketball. Like I do generally, as an NA fan, I didn't know this was region specific, but I do follow certain players. I generally do. But yeah, it's interesting that is that really just like a regional thing that like they're just so passionate about their organizations. I know, like again, I have some of the same fans. We might even have the same person in our chat, but like all the Liquid fans right now are rejoicing because they are so happy that this is the team. Because I think you're absolutely right with like this team. Liquid team is kind of like the future-proof team. Like this is the more reliable. Like we already know what you're getting with that 4 plus Igor, the greatest coach of all time. So of course they're gonna be happy with that. But before I talk about that, I'll let Parker kind of talk about the loyalty.
I think it's something that's kind of lost on us in esports because the organizations haven't been around long enough, and they're not specifically tied to geographic locations. That it's really hard for you to like cheer for a team. You know, like we were like if you grew up in Toronto and you like hockey, there's a very good chance you're going to cheer for the Toronto Maple Leafs until the day you die. If you grew up in the Bronx in New York and you like baseball, you're probably going to cheer for the Yankees. Like even in the bad years, they're your team. This is something in North America where I feel like in North America, fans are a little bit more fickle. Fans are oftentimes more attached to players. If they move around, they're looking for, something a little different. Maybe their loyalty is easily swayed. Whereas if you look at European sports culture, I don't think North Americans really fully understand, outside of maybe the like football, especially in the South. Like if you are good at football, you are a god. But like they don't worship players in a lot of North America. I find the same way that you see in Europe, right? Like if you go across to Europe and you watch like football, like soccer, as it should fucking be called everywhere, football, because it's a foot and a ball. Sorry, North Americans, but I think soccer is a fine term, but it's just like it's fucking football. What they play in North America as football is silly. It's an egg you throw with a hand. Anyway, not getting into that, but again, people in the chat will get mad and they'll make comments and free impressions. But it's like I know people that are like, well, my dad was a Leeds fan, and my grandfather was a Leeds fan, so I'm a Leeds fan, and my kids are going to be Leeds fans, and it's 3:00, which is 8:00 in the UK, and the Leeds game is about to start. I gotta watch it, and like it's like you become bonded to these clubs for life, and it's something that I've never really understood. I like to think I'm a loyal person, but like if the club sucks ass for like 20 years. Why are you wasting your time investing in something that ultimately will make you miserable? Like I see I'm not a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I want them to do well because I'm from Toronto. But I see my friends who watch every Leafs game, even when they're fucking dog shit. And I'm like, you don't enjoy this. Why are you doing it? Like, watch a team that's fun and is good. Like, you don't even need to be like, they're my favorite team. But just like, why do you, like, if you're going to spend 3 hours of your night watching a fucking sport game, why are you going to do it for a team that's shit? Like, and then of course people are going to be like, well, because you got to be there for the lows if you want the highs. And, you know, like, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. And it's like, I could die tomorrow. And, you know, like I have friends who it's like, they'll die tomorrow. And I'll be like, they spent a third of their life watching the Maple Leafs. What a fucking waste. You know, like, so I don't know. I just don't get it. But I've heard in Brazil that, and this actually funny is like worlds colliding. There's a very famous footballer who had a run-in with Chapel Roan, supposedly in her security. Yes. And I dove real deep into like the Brazilian football lore. And it's like the club that this guy plays with is like the fans are insane. And like you've never seen such passion. And it's like the team is terrible, but they still love them. But the team's amazing. They're even more insane. And I was just reading about it and they're just like, their reasoning was always just like, well, that's just what it is. You just like the team. You cheer for the team. That's it. So it's like in Brazil, it doesn't surprise me. It's also really common in like certain parts of Europe. You see it a lot in Turkey too, where it's like these fans, they pick a club and that's it. And they never change their minds. So it doesn't surprise me at all hearing that like Brazilian fans aren't really like attached to the players. They're like, we just want the orgs to do well. There's a different feeling of loyalty there than I find in NA. And I don't really understand it. Maybe you, if you're watching, we do have some Brazilian viewers. We picked up some of the Fully Box and Alimau episodes. If you're one of those people, sound off. I want to know why. Like, why not cheer for a team that does better or something along those lines? I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't know. I like loyalty. I think it's cute.
Yeah.
I'm a loyal guy, but it's just like, I like the Blackhawks and they're terrible right now. So maybe I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I still watch a lot of their games, even though they're terrible. But like, I don't know. I also watch other teams that play. Like I hate the Colorado Avalanche, but they are objectively a very good hockey team and they are fun to watch. I will watch their games from time to time because it's enjoyable, even though I want them to lose.
Hate watch.
They're the DZ of the NHL, Mint. What can I tell you?
Someone in my chat, funnily enough, came into my chat today and asked me, like, on the same topic, if the Amady boys went to a different team, would I support Amady or would I support them and why?
And what was your answer?
Well, I said obviously I'm gonna support the boys, and then I was just like, well, because I first, for certain reason, like I supported them back in the day when they're on a different org, so it's like, for no other reason than that though, like,
I suppose this is actually a good question to pose to the people who watch. If you've made it this deep into the episode, as we are now nearing the end, but if you've made it this deep in, what would change your allegiance? Like, if you've been cheering for Space Station, if you've been cheering for DZ, if you've been cheering for FURIA, if you've been cheering for G2, through the highs and the lows, why is your loyalty unshakable? And is there something that could possibly change it? Because I'd love to hear what people think about this, because it's so fascinating to me. Because you can have a very like logical perspective on it and be like, if this team is bad and it's run poorly, why should I support them? Then you have other people being like, that's exactly why you should support them, because they need your support.
Type shit.
Maybe people, I don't know.
Yeah.
Type shit.
Are either of you guys like sports people? Do you have that? Do you like, is there a team that you ride or don't know?
I mean, well, I ride
loves golf.
It's just whenever like a Houston team
does
like when the Astros like won the World Series.
The Astros are cheaters.
Well, yeah, everyone cheats.
They're fucking cheaters.
Man. Well, I don't know shit. First of all, I don't know shit. But second of all, it's like it's like when a team in Houston starts doing well, I will begin to watch, and then usually it'll be disappointing. But then they actually won that year, and I was like, holy fucking shit! And then I got school off for like a day, and I was like in high school or some shit. And I was like, holy fucking shit! And that was crazy. And then every year it's like we make the playoffs in the NBA, and we get like butt fucked by Stephen Curry every single time. It's always the Golden State Warriors. No matter how good or bad they are, they will always fuck us. No matter how good or bad we are, they will always fuck us. So I mean, I just accepted that. Yeah, that's really it.
Philadelphia.
That's fine. Toronto beat them in the finals
Oh,
with Kawhi Leonard.
oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
No, so my thoughts on the SAL so far is I have personal friends who work for Team Liquid Alienware, I suppose I should say, which by the way, they just announced, this is not an ad. If you are a Star Wars fan, Team Liquid just announced a partnership with Star Wars for like keycaps and mouse pads.
Holy shit.
It actually looks fucking awesome. Like, I'm not a gaming merch person, like none of that stuff. But like the Team Liquid Star Wars collab that they just announced like yesterday on Twitter is actually genuinely fire. I will almost certainly be purchasing some of it. And the only esports merch I have ever bought in my life was I bought a TSM hoodie in 2017. That is literally it. I have never spent any money on esports merch beyond that. And I am probably going to change that now by buying some of the Star Wars stuff. Anyway, I have friends that work at Team Liquid, so obviously I'd like them to do well. And I always had a soft spot for both Nesk and Palu. I would have liked to have seen them win something. You know, I often said that one of the highlights of my career would be finally casting Nesk winning something. Obviously, that ship has sailed. But it's like, I want that team to do well. I want the organization to do well. By all measures, I'm not loyal to any esports org. At the end of the day, they are companies. They have no vested interest in their players. Most companies are, you know, again, don't want to get political here, but most companies, they solely care about making profits. That's it, right? And if they can find a more profitable team, they'll do that. I will say Team Liquid has kind of bucked that trend. They have stuck with their lineup for way longer than they needed to. And yeah, they've had middling success, but I honestly think Liquid's a little bit different from a lot of the other orgs out there. And because of that, I have a soft spot for them. I like the players on it. I got to say, I just want the team to do well. And I really like Philippox an awful lot. Over on the side of Ninjas and Pajamas, I've always liked the players over there. I really like the Kamikaze, Shaiiko, and Julio core quite a bit. Obviously, none of them are affiliated with that team any longer. Kamikaze is now like a Team Liquid streamer for crying out loud, and Julio's obviously with Falcons. But I mean, it's nice to see. It's nice to see like the OGs do well. I am excited about this FURIA roster. I honestly think this FURIA roster is fucking nasty. I think they can be really goddamn good. I think they're going to need some time to gel, but all of the pieces are there. I think this can be a really, really scary team. Beyond that, I mean, what else is there to say? You've got FaZe Clan, which is amazingly a team that we didn't even really talk about. 2-time defending world champions, and we barely talked about them. We've focused on pretty much every other team. Just goes to show you that when you are the best, you are the high water mark. People don't talk about you when you're the best. They compare everybody else to you. But what is there to say about FaZe Clan that hasn't already been said by us or hasn't been said by them in the server, right? 2 hammers, back to back. This team is fucking insane. 3 grand finals appearances in the SI back to back to back. They are the high water mark for every team. They are what every team aspires to. They are really, really good. They don't need to be good domestically because they kick fucking ass internationally. As long as they make it there, which they've already clinched a playoff spot, so there's a very high likelihood they'll make it. That's all they need to do, right? And if FaZe Clan loses SLC, like the major, they don't fucking care. They got 2 hammers. They'll go cry in their hammers. Like, whatever. As for the lower end, I think INTS is a very interesting roster. I also think that Fluxo W7M is having some very odd troubles that are confusing to me. This is a top 6 team at SI, making deep runs time and time again. Won the Montreal Major under the W7M banner a couple years ago. They have consistently improved as a team, but I mean, granted, they did lose Volps, so I can understand why there would be some regression here. But the team's numbers are really quite poor. Loban, I think, is the only player on the team that's actually statistically doing well at this point in time. Everybody else is taking a bath. That team has unfortunately lost one of their superpowers, and I don't know if you can recover quickly enough. I would frankly be shocked if this current iteration of Fluxo W7M makes it to the major. If you put a gun to my head, it's going to be FURIA, Liquid, FaZe, and NIP, which I know are 4 of the best teams. Shocker. But right now, Brazil's very top heavy. They always got the teams like Black Dragons, you know, like your old ENXs, your old E2 or whatever the hell that team's name was that made it to Manchester and sucked ass. You've always got these weird like little rosters that are good, but then they just get farmed for their players and get picked up to the big dogs. So who knows? But Brazil looks like it's back to being super top heavy. I'd be shocked if we see any surprises in who makes SLC from the region.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when it was W7M, FURIA, FaZe, the top 3, and then like the top 4 NIP came out of nowhere, and then people were scrambling for like the 5th and 6th spots for playoffs. It was like Loud, Liquid, and I believe it was another team. Black Dragons actually looked quite impressive. So, it does seem like the consolidation of talent onto FURIA, Liquid, and FaZe just kind of like leaves everyone else dry. It's kind of the same thing with EU, right? It feels like a consolidation of talent into the top teams, and everyone else is just like, what the fuck? But yeah, Volps is such an X factor for every team he joins. He immediately propels them into like a high ranking position, and it's clear he has strategical influence. It's clear he has shot calling influence majorly, and it just sucks to see for Fluxo because they have such talented players and what looks like a really nice coach, and so yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to touch on things you guys already touched on Brazil because I didn't get my
I'll touch
thoughts.
on you.
But
Sorry.
nice. I didn't get my thoughts, but like you guys basically covered it. The one thing I want to give some insight into that FURIA team for a second here, because I do think for me, they are, like you said, they can actually contend. Like this is a scary super team. You literally have Laura and Herds on the same team is insane. So the best thing about SAL, if for people that don't watch the actual SAL streams and they only watch the English stream, is that SAL actually gets comms, and a lot of you, including myself, don't understand Portuguese. But on round 6 and 7, you can, of course, 6-7. You actually get we actually get listen-ins, which is really cool, and I really wish we would have that in the NAL and EUL, but I think some pro players have ruined it, and I'm not going to say who. But anyway, you get listen-ins and you get actually insight into the team. And I when I'm watching SAL, I get Portuguese speakers that are watching, and they translate these comms for me. And apparently one of the biggest things for FURIA is figuring out the pacing between their really aggressive players and Diaz. Because Diaz, if you look at his stats, he played 3 maps, 0-0 on the entry. He does not get in there. We know he does not get in there. 0-0 on the entry. His survival rating, the highest of any player, 55%. Way even higher than Souls, who's a very passive player on FaZe. So Diaz, super slow player, Bader level. And then you got Laura and Herds who just want to run in. So from the insight that I'm getting from that team is like whenever it's Volps yelling, it's basically telling Herds and Laura to slow down, and it's telling Diaz to get the hell in the building and actually do something. So it's really if they can figure out their pacing, whether they're going to be able to like be that consistent top team, because that's what it always seems like right now that they're focusing on is figuring out, because they run these Brazilian split attacks, and you need pressure at all the right moments for it to work, and you really need to work on the timings and things like that. And Diaz obviously played for Team Liquid before. They really were kind of doing some of the old meta shit, so he did excel there. I still think he's going to excel here. Obviously, he's performing 1.32 rating, plus 15. Like he's going to get his. That's just how it is when you're the passive player on an aggressive team. It's almost like everyone are like shepherds running kills at you, and you're just sitting there like a sentry turret eating up. He's going to get his. That goes without saying. But that's the biggest question mark for me for this FURIA team. But yeah, besides that, you guys already covered it. Like obviously the top 3 is the top 3. Liquid's going to have no problems. I'm very impressed with my own Liquid. I think it might be an upgrade over Herds in the long run. Obviously, it's besides just that, they're figuring out roles. They've done a lot of role switches that Fellapox covered in the podcast that I missed with you, Parker. So that was interesting to hear about, like the role changes, because that's a big deal. Trying to figure out like who's the new shield player, who's the soft flex player, things like that. That takes some time. So not surprising to me that they lost their first match. In the long run, though, like they had the support staff, Igor, super trusted. Point that to FURIA too. They have Reduct as their coach. I don't think he gets credit. He was someone else that Alamau mentioned as far as coaches with ball knowledge is Reduct. Reduct was a former pro player on MIBR, a roster
Top for it SI.
I loved watching. I know Troy himself loved MIBR as well. A man with ball knowledge. Yeah, Reduct, I think given some time, he only had that one season with Liquid, and I actually saw like the wheels turning on Liquid for once. They actually had some hope. I think given more time, Reduct could have done some great things, but now he's got a better team, in my opinion. He's working with Volps. He's working with superstars. That is why I feel like he actually completes this team. Like they actually have the strategic element to this team as well. So FURIA, again, completes that top 3. You covered it. W7M's the question mark for sure. I wish they could have got Perez. I don't know why. Like Perez is like my wizard here. I don't know why they did my boy dirty. I was a big Loud supporter. I loved Raza Academy as like the other orgless team that was besides Unwanted. Loud to me it's the biggest organization in Brazil, right? It's the biggest organization in Brazil.
Humongous. Yeah, I mean, actually, I think
yes.
that FURIA is technically the biggest. But Loud, obviously, I think Loud has kind of lost some of its luster. I think you could have credibly argued Loud was the biggest maybe about 2 years ago. But honestly, success has not found Loud teams the way that they wanted. And I think FURIA is the biggest now. Pain Gaming is also huge.
Yeah, Pain.
But don't have a Siege team anymore. So
I was asking, Google just told me Pain Gaming then Loud, so I wasn't sure. But we haven't had Pain.
Well, I think it depends.
Right?
There's a bunch of different criteria that we could apply to change that, right?
100%. Twitter followers.
Grok, is this true?
Yeah, Grok, can you help me out here? But anyway, Loud's disappointing to me. I was a big fan of them. Perez is one of the best players in BR, and to see him go to Los, a middling team, kind of like, why is he not on a better team? Why did Flux at W7M not get like Perez? We got Cons instead. Maybe it was the IGL. Like, I don't know. I'm not Brazilian. I'm not Portuguese. But it does suck to see Perez not picked up on a top team because he's absolutely performing. And it sucks that Loud, again, such a big organization, they can't get a better team. Like, they're okay.
Yeah.
Like, this team clearly is not going to do anything. We have players. We got Resets and Stemp from Elevate. They were just imports. Like, no offense, but this team is absolutely going to get rolled. Imperial Esports. It's the Sexy Cake team. It's like Sexy Cake he's inevitable. I feel like he's just got to hang it up at this point soon. Maybe go coach in the NAL. Brazilians are having good success doing that. But as far as playing, like, that team, I watched them the other day. They were miserable to watch against FaZe Clan, bringing Ram to a top. It was miserable to watch. So Brazil, it's very clear they have a top 3. NIP, do I keep glazing them like I have been in the past? They've been impressive. Yeah. It's either going to be between them and probably W7M for the 4th spot. But Brazil's been fun to watch because of the fact that we have a new super team with that FURIA team.
To your point about Diaz, you already cited some of the numbers, but just to contextualize them, Diaz has the fewest deaths tied with souls at just 15 deaths so far. Obviously, you referenced that he's plus 15. He's also tied with the highest KD with Legacy of all players on that INTZ roster, Ints, who is like, Legacy's been around for a long, long time, but boy, oh boy, is he having quite the glow up. He's always been a terrific player, and he's always actually been towards the top every single stage of EPS. But he's been playing again on those like kind of what we often refer to internally as feeder teams. So for those of you that are watching, usually there's two tiers of organizations within esports. You've got your world beaters, your huge teams, and you've got your feeder teams. Some of the teams, like, and I hate to say this, but some of the teams just don't have the budget, they don't have the prestige, they don't have the resources to compete. So what they'll do is they'll usually try to find up-and-coming players, they'll sign them to really lucrative contracts, and then they'll offload them and profit off of them by getting a crazy buyout. I'm not going to name any of the orgs because I don't want to upset people, but I will say that this INTZ, even though they are a big org, the roster screams feeder team to me, where it's like they're going to pick up a couple really great players and then hope a couple of them go on to greener pastures, sell them off, and move on. I guess I could say Vivo Keedstars and Miners GG were both like that. Those are former SAL teams as well, or orgs that were in it, where it's like they just pick up a bunch of players and that's it. So it's like, you look at a player like Legacy, I think he will eventually be elevated up to one of the top teams, but maybe not yet. But Diaz has been great. Perez is 5th highest rated player. Another really good point. Your chat was talking about Perez yesterday when I was in your stream. I was watching your co-stream yesterday. It was the last.
They were also pissed that Diaz. Nothing gets me more as a coach than like Diaz. Great, like 1v2 down to a 1v1, starts planting the bomb, and then the defender gets really close to him and he gets off the plant. Like, just stick the goddamn case. Stop saving your stats. That's why you have the least amount of deaths, and it pisses me off. Anyway.
Yeah. No, that's really it. Like, I think we're back to Brazil being very top heavy. I see no reason for any of this stuff to change. Obviously, there's one more play day left, and then anything can happen. Brazil is one of those regions where just because you're successful in Brazil doesn't mean you're going to be successful internationally, and vice versa. I think this is probably the region where regional results don't really matter that much compared to, like, say, NAL or EML or even APAC. If you're good in those regions, you tend to be good internationally. Wildcard is usually the outlier in NA, but for Brazil, it's like half of the teams. Sometimes you just don't match up well against your opponents or whatever, you know. But I think SAL is always really fun to watch, and I've been a big Brazilian fan for quite some time. I like the way Brazilian Siege is played. I think they have a lot of great characters, and honestly, that's why there's been a push for us to get more Brazilian players on this show, because a big goal of DBNO is to shine a spotlight on people that you, the community, might not know about. To go back to something Fett ranted about a long time ago, there are a lot of casual players who just watch Stompin' and they're like, oh, he shoots things, he's good, that's great, Stompin's amazing, and then they don't know why.
No,
We saw this with
it's
Bolo.
so much worse than that. It's so much worse than that.
No.
They won't even watch like
There he goes
SR
again.
do bad, and they'll be
get
like,
it.
"Where's Spoit? Where's Spoit?" Like, granted, I think Spoit's a great player. I don't think his issue lies in his ability to kill people, but he goes negative at events, and then on a statistical list, people will be like, "Where's Spoit?" Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just I like awoke. I keep awakening
that.
something in
I
him.
love
But
that.
no, we
Keep
actually
going,
talked about this when
man.
Bolo was. We talked about this when Bolo was on the show, right? Like you are so popular, people watch you because they like what they see, but they don't engage with it beyond that. Bolo peaks quickly, gets cool shots. Oh my god, he's amazing. He can beat everybody in a duel. That's really not the point of Siege. And if you're playing in pro play, you're going to have to adapt, right? Bolo adapted. Stompin' has adapted. Spoit adapted. Like the best players will adapt, but they're not going to be the same kind of flashy play. You know, you're not going to see Bolo going buck wild like in his clips. So it's important that we share that knowledge.
And
Are you about to go
Stompin'
off again?
Stompin' stuck a plant where he died sticking the plant into 0 seconds the other day.
That's my go.
And that's the difference between Stompin' and these other fucking bums that get off the plant
Yep.
to save their KD.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Love stomping.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, and I will do this. Like, I don't really know that much about hockey, but I love it and I watch it a lot. And it's a sport where it's like, I don't want to learn more because I don't need to. I watch it because it's entertaining. I don't really care about stats. I don't really care about numbers. Like, I know enough to do fantasy hockey and that's about it, but I'm there to be entertained. The problem is that social media allows us to just share our opinions widely. And we have very quickly learned, as anybody who has worked with a number of people, there are a lot of people with really bad opinions. So they don't necessarily need to be shared, and they will. And then a lot of times they're children who will yell at you if they think you're wrong. Again, I came on and I made fun of Stompin' for 4 seconds, and I had 3,000 people in your chat call me Fat Hagrid. So it's like, I understand perfectly well what happens when you upset the children. I get it. I think unless you have any other thoughts about SAL, we can close the book on that region. Kyle, throw it in the bin. All good. This has been a terrific episode. I don't think there's anything else for us to cover. We got Fett back. We brought Fett back in because you all were talking so much ish that we had to show you that Fett still exists and he still loves us. And he still comes on this show. And we want to say thank you. Even if sometimes he was stimming, you know what? We're okay with that. And if we're okay with that, you don't get to be angry on our behalf. We think it's fine. It's fine. Let him be. Yardy, if you're listening, you don't need to make another video, but I appreciate all the nice things you said about me in your video. Thank you. Anyway, that's it for our 50
Called you a
second.
dinosaur.
That's objectively correct. I am so old, I'm turning to dust. What's that? To end you on a great thought, it's like in any other universe, you would not be old. But in esports, it's like, look at this pro player walking out onto the stage, 24 years old. It's a miracle he's even alive.
Put him on
It's like,
thermite.
Yeah, put him on thermite. This has been a terrific episode. We hope you enjoyed the kickoffs. Our next show should be sometime next week, because if you're presumably watching this on Friday, we're going to be recording the very next day on Saturday with some fresh faces from the NA League, as long as it goes well. And then who knows? We'll have a super show when all the teams are locked in. And then hopefully we'll be able to do a show from Salt Lake City as we wanted to do when we were in Paris. And then I got food poisoning and there were issues with some, I think the appendix of one of the producers burst. It was quite a fiasco and we just weren't able to do a live show. But thank you very much for watching. As always, like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps us out. And in the meantime, go back and watch some of the older episodes until we'll see you for our very next episode next week. Take care.
I want to say thank you, Parker. Thank you, Mint. I will be here every like 5 episodes or so.
I'm counting.
We keep the Fett tracker needs to stay up, and we expect you, the audience, to keep him humble and keep him accountable. He'll join us when he wants to, and that is okay with us. Thank you very much, everybody. Sincerely. And thank you, Fett, for joining us. Thank you, Mint. On behalf of Last Free Nation and everybody else, we appreciate you watching. Take care. Enjoy your evening.